the law. Because then you make people to become suspicious about several things.
You mean your office was broken in?
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker. Yes, Right Honourable Speaker. And I saw police actually justifying it, saying they went to pick some exhibits. I said, but now, which court of law are you going to use those exhibits in? Because no one was there to corroborate. How do I be brought to court to say you concede that this was gotten from your office or from your premises when I was not there? Honourable Speaker, hopefully the Attorney General responds to these issues. Finally, Right Honourable Speaker, so that he responds generally.
There is an order.
No problem.
Right Honourable Speaker, and honourable members, like you said, Parliament has got a lot of work. Whenever we come here, you are dragged, Right Honourable Speaker, into unfounded allegations. Unfounded allegations. And I believe the reason is to make government look dirty. This government has protected Ugandans, and that's why everybody is proud, including investors. Is it in order for the LOP all the time to come here to dirty the government? Yes, that is the intention. In my presence as a leader of government. Are you in order?
Honourable members,
Allegations without evidence. Are you in order?
honourable members, honourable members, honourable members, honourable members. When I asked the LOP that you mean your offices were raided, because I didn't know that they were raided. I didn't know. Actually, I didn't know because I'm not there to hear whatever happens. I was only very disappointed when I saw my old men from Teso. And I'm going to follow those old men paraded in new offices. Why would an old man? Is that the place that gives out money for compensation? Compensation is given from Parliament. We are not going to allow this. You will not do this in Teso.
Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank you, and with your permission I could clarify that small issue. Our political party, our doors are open to anybody that comes to us to advocate for them. So elders from Teso came to our office. I don't know if you wanted us to chase them away. But they came and raised their concerns and said, please advocate for us as Teso War claimants for us to be paid. We received them. I don't know what's illegal about that. But let me not be distracted, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Attorney General, he says he has a list. He's talking about a list that
Right Honourable Speaker, the issue of the Right Honourable Prime Minister, because she was saying there's no evidence, police released a statement. And Right Honourable Speaker, I want to agree with the Prime Minister that this Parliament discusses critical issues, and that's why you normally encourage us to be here by 2. By 2 you were in your chair, the Prime Minister came very late. If you respect the issues of Parliament, please come early like the rest of us.
She didn't come late.
Honourable Speaker, she was not here at 2. That's the truth.
Come late.
But let me wrap up with this issue, late. Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members.
Right Honourable Speaker.
Order.
Lop, you sit. Lop, you sit. Lop, you sit. Can we go to the next item? Next item. Next item. Next item.
Motion
We will handle your issues. Next item.
Motion for a resolution of Parliament to authorize government.
What is your issue?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In fact, I would have been done had I not been interrupted by the Prime Minister. Right Honorable Speaker, I have a list that I would like to table here for the attention of the Attorney General. The Supreme Court delivered a ruling saying for matters that had been handled by the court-martial, either free these people or transfer their files to the civilian courts. Some of these files were transferred. There's several other lists, people whose files have not been transferred. Let me this list, Right Honorable Speaker.
Give it to AG.
It has got names Sechitoleko Yasin Machete, who is on hunger strike, Kavuma Musa, Gibsiwa Abdallah, Kalanzi Sharif, Mwonge Joseph, Jimmy Galukande, Kato Umar, Abdallah Chintu, Mwase Patrick, Agaba Anthony, Angulibo Siraj, Andama Habza, Ida Kasim, and finally, Buga Ratib. These people were remanded by the court-martial, which no longer has authority over them. When are their files going to be transferred to the civilian courts like everybody else? Because their being on remand under the court-martial has got no place in the law. Government and Attorney General, when are these files going to be transferred to the civilian courts? I do lay the list, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable members, when you make the House unruly, you'll miss out even to speak what you're supposed to speak. But I want to reiterate this. And this information goes even to the people out there. This madness of parading our old parents. Huh? Order to who? You cannot start parading all the people in the name of compensation. You bring all the people all the way from Teso. That can never happen, and it should never happen. And we are looking for the people who are doing that. Next item.
Item 3 on the order paper. Motion for a resolution of Parliament to authorize government to borrow up to United States dollars 100 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, BADEA, private window. United States dollars 50 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, public window. And United States dollars 25 million from the OPEC Fund for International Development to capitalize Uganda Development Bank Limited. 2, to authorize government to guarantee Uganda Development Bank Limited to directly borrow up to United States dollars 40 million from the Islamic Development Bank, United States dollars 30 million from the Islamic Corporation for the development of the private sector, and United States dollars 30 million from the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation.
Oh, he's on the run. I've left. I've lost him. He's on the run.
Yes.
I saw a minister. I was scared. So.
Honorable members, as you may recall, on Wednesday, 5th, 2025, February, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development tabled a proposal to authorize government to borrow up to USD 100 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, BADEA, a private window, USD 50 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, public window, USD 25 million from OPEC Fund for International Development to capitalize UDB, to guarantee Uganda Development Bank Limited to directly borrow from USD 40 million from Islamic Development Bank, USD 30 million from Islamic Corporation for development of a private sector, ICD, and USD 30 million from International Development Trade Finance Corporation. The proposal was referred to the Committee of National Economy, which is now ready to report, and pursuant to Article 159, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, 1995, and Rule 155 of the Rules of Procedure, I will invite the Minister of Finance to move a motion for the borrowing, and then I will invite the Minister. Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this institution is a key institution to governance and democracy. The leader of opposition raised the issues of abduction, issues of raiding political parties' offices, but also we have an unfinished issue of the implementation of the Supreme Court judgment. I thought that the Attorney General is going to develop appetite to respond to these issues. Because, as far as I know, you have partially transmitted files. There are other people who are still crying there before they are in jail. Their warrants ended. I thought you will brief Parliament, because Parliament, and I want to thank you, Madam Speaker, on this issue. But I'm raising a procedure. I don't know what's wrong with people who put on military uniforms when they are civilians. Because in the military, there are no procedure. Is that what you want to suggest, Honorable Abe? When others are raising procedure, you wait. Procedure are not raised concurrently. So, Madam Speaker, I want to seek for your indulgence for the Attorney General to lay the fears, not only of those of us who are here, but the country, on issues of abduction, issues of raiding political parties' headquarters, but also issues of getting everybody who has a file, like the Supreme Court ruled, transferred. When are they going to be transferred? You cannot transfer them at leisure.
Honourable members, I am happy that the rules of procedure were made by us in this House. And when I see senior members of Parliament not respecting the rules of procedure, I want to refer you to Rule 2222, reconsideration of a decision of the House. It is out of order to attempt to reconsider a specific question. Remember, that question was raised and it was forwarded to Attorney General. Attorney General cannot give you a feedback. We have given him the information and he's going to come back to the House and give you a feedback. He does not keep those people in his brain. Those people are somewhere. He has to go and consult and find. The other day you raised an issue, and I am happy you have come back to say the issue was solved, and that issue will equally be solved. We are here to work for people outside there. We are not working for ourselves. It is to our best interest that everybody is peaceful in this country. Next item.
But Madam Speaker, the same rules as you have cited them, they limit the interaction of the Speaker. Reason is that the rules don't want the Speaker to be the one answering on behalf of government.
Honourable Minister. Yes.
Madam Speaker.
Maybe before you bring a procedural matter, Honourable Minister, are you going to move an omnibus motion, or you're going to handle one by one? No, I am the one asking. Are you going to do it?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, my motion is consistent with the item which appears on order paper. Madam Speaker, pursuant to Article 159 of the Constitution.
Procedure.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, about a month ago, the Minister of Finance presented to this House the National Development Plan 4. When the committee reported, you kindly asked this House to give what I consider to have been an interim approval. And the wording of the Act, National Planning Act, Authority Act, is that we approve and adopt. I remember you made a ruling that we had given an approval subject to some improvement that was supposed to come back to this House.
Capturing what was said in the House and bringing to lay on table.
Actually, that day there was nothing said in the House. There was no debate, Madam Speaker, if I can refresh your memory. So in that National Development Plan, the point I want to make is that for the next 5 years, the planning... Madam Speaker, just a moment. I'll come to that, Madam Speaker. I just beg your indulgence. The next 5 years, whether it's under NRM or the next government, development is expected in each and every corner of this country. What we had observed, Madam Speaker, in that draft National Development Plan, there was serious imbalance. I went and did an analysis. Out of the total budget to implement NDP 4, there is a particular region that is taking 50%, more than 50% of the budget that is going to be spent in the next 1 year. And yet, when we are here, we borrow money that each and every citizen of this country pays that loan. When the projects are skewed, Madam Speaker, in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of roads, in terms of agro-industrialization, the industries that are going to be spread in the country, and so many others, I particularly feel that I have not represented my people, because we are not going to be servicing loans, projects that go into particular areas and others are left. Madam Speaker, the question I want to ask is that we had expected the Minister of Finance to come back. This is a national development plan. Let the nation see themselves in this plan. We had only given approval, which was temporary, but the adoption was withheld by this parliament.
We had given 1 month for you to come and lay the document on table. Where is the NDP 4 that was supposed to be laid on table? No, we gave 1 month.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. To the best of my recollection, I think we are still within 130 days period.
No, you are not actually here even.
So then let me commit that I comply next week. So can I go ahead?
Which date?
Next week.
Can I have the NDP 4 on Thursday?
Next week on...
no, Thursday this week.
Thursday next week.
This week. Thursday this week.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Prime Minister is asking for Tuesday. It's okay. It's okay. Honorable Prime Minister, you smile for once for Jonathan.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, you know, I was somehow hurt when the rope said, I was yes, that I came late. When my deputy was here, you know, the prime minister you have is a busy prime minister. Very busy indeed doing government work. I know the rope has got liberty. He has even time to parade, to politic. Right, Honorable Speaker, let me now go to NDP 4. Right, Honorable Speaker, NDP 4, we want to also refine what you put it, embed it in our plan, then the cabinet pass it. I request for 2 weeks.
It's okay. Let's have it. Even the 2 weeks will pass. Yes, so long as we have a commitment from you. Honorable Kema, Mr. Kema, get for us the date of 2 weeks. So that we have it on record that the NDP 4 will be laid on such and such a date. Yes.
Madam Speaker and colleagues,
Maybe before you move your motion in the public gallery this afternoon, we have a delegation of district leaders from Kakumiro district. They are led by the district speaker, my colleague, the district speaker. You first stand up. That is my district speaker. The LOC 3 chairpersons. You stand up with LOC 3 chairpersons. The sub-county NRM team from 24 sub-counties of Kakumiro district. Where are you? You're welcome. And they are here, they're represented by none other than Majegere. By Honorable Nabanja Robina, Honorable Biamuka Mafred, Honorable Tracy Josephat, and Honorable Agaba Aisha. You are very good leaders. And who are you to have a prime minister? Meaning that you're very special people. You're very, very special people. You're most welcome. And thank you for sending us very good leaders. Most welcome. Join me in welcoming the Kakumiro people. Thank you. Yes.
Madam Speaker and colleagues, pursuant to Article 159 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and Section 34 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2015 as amended, and Rule 155 of our Rules of Procedure, I beg to move a motion for a resolution of Parliament to approve the proposal for government to borrow up to United States
Madam
dollars
Disaster.
100 million.
Disaster. We have issues of disaster. You don't go. We have issues of disaster from Afidra, from Acrobat, and don't go, and from Linda.
Let me repeat. Right Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Article 159 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, 1995, and Section 34
Yes.
of the Public Finance Management.
Madam Speaker, when we come here, we are national leaders. The point of privilege I am raising, my assignment supposed to go to every corner of the country. But I heard you, Madam Speaker, quarreling that the people of Teso cannot be paraded. The point of privilege I am raising is whether now Teso is caveated. NOP cannot meet them, PFF cannot meet them, even when they come by themselves. Because I have been in Teso on issues of compensation. The other day was in Kakumiro. So point I am raising, Madam Speaker, is whether now you have reduced all of us into community, local government leaders, that we cannot meet people outside our communities.
Continue.
Right Honorable Speaker, in line with Article 159 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, Section 34 of the Public Finance Management Act, and Rule 155 of the Parliamentary Rules of Procedure, I beg to move a motion for a resolution of Parliament to approve the proposal for government to borrow up to $100 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badea Private Window, United States $50 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badea Public Window, and $25 million from the OPEC Fund for International Development to capitalize Uganda Development Bank Limited, and also guarantee Uganda Development Bank Limited to borrow up to United States $40 million from the Islamic Development Bank, $30 million from the Islamic Cooperation for the Development of Private Sector, and $30 million from the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation. I beg to move, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, is the motion seconded? Seconded. Seconded by Honorable Bahati, the Prime Minister, Honorable Victoria, Honorable Alex, Honorable Wakoraj, Honorable James, Honorable Jane, Linda, Edie, Jessica, Disaster, Honorable Disaster, Honorable Nathan, Honorable Awaz, Honorable Fox Mamai, Honorable Betty, Honorable Phyllis, Honorable Angora, Honorable Acrobat, Honorable Amuran, thank you, Honorable Kwalinga, Honorable Lanyo. Would you want to speak to it?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, Uganda Development Bank Limited's funding needs have exponentially grown over the last 2 years, and the bank needs to disburse an average of Uganda shillings 1 trillion per year in new disbursements. The exponential growth in funding needs is due to growth of the economy, which is attributable to business expansion coupled with UDB's favorable terms and value proposition. UDB lends at not more than 12% per annum up to a period of 15 years, which makes it the only bank that can offer favorable and long-term tenor capital in the economy. UDB is desirous to drive growth of the private sector and significantly contribute to growth in private sector credit to GDP ratio by deploying capital to the real economic sector. Currently, UDB's share of the total private sector credit is 7% as at March 2024. UDB's role has increased, for example, 28.8% of the total credit to the manufacturing sector is provided by UDB. UDB continues to innovate products and services and provide solutions for all
Yes,
business, including SME,
Cow.
at large enterprise sector. But this is good information for you. Sometimes it's important to listen.
Cow.
Madam Speaker, the procedural matter I'm raising pertains the irregular method by which the Honorable Minister has moved the motion for two separate loans which are not the same. The first one is about government borrowing to capitalize Uganda Development Bank.
Then guaranteeing.
Then the second one is guaranteeing the Uganda Development Bank to borrow, and it will be the bank to pay back interest, including all the other obligations. But the first one is different. The two are as far apart like night and day, Madam Speaker. And it would be irregular
That's why I
on
was
part of this
asking.
House to allow the Minister to move both motions in an omnibus.
That's why.
And even the resolutions, Madam Speaker,
No, but that's
will
why I
not be
asked. That's
one
why,
resolution. We shall be required to have two resolutions.
that's why I asked, are you moving as an omnibus?
In any case, I expected him to have given good counsel and guidance. He gave a wrong one to move an omnibus, which is irregular. He knows it.
Oh,
How was the loan presented?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, of course we are at the point of reporting. And this Parliament referred to us a request which was presented that way. Though, when it comes to recommendation, the report will recommend separately. But that's how the loan, the request
structured.
was presented to this Parliament. And dividing them at this point may actually also affect our report, because we have reported in line with, but the conclusion, the recommendation are different.
So do you agree that we will have two questions, two resolutions, one for borrowing and one for guaranteeing?
That's very right, because we also have two recommendations, one for borrowing and another one for guaranteeing.
Yes, Honorable Minister. But I think next time what you need to do is to divide, bring a separate request for borrowing and then a separate one for guarantee. It will be better. Even if it is going to the same institution, but it is neater.
Have we come to work, or we have just come to procedure? Why don't we work, my friend?
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I wanted to get your guidance. The manner in which we process business here is by items on the order paper, and the order paper is the preserve of the Speaker. And at this time I came because there were items listed on the order paper as item 4 and 5, which are separate. And I'm now getting worried when the minister is attempting now to navigate around that. That is your prerogative, Madam Speaker, that we process item by item. And that is what we have on the order paper.
Let's first look at the borrowing. Let's look at the borrowing.
Madam Speaker, the terms and conditions for the loan are the following. Loan terms for the US dollars 100 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badea private window. Facility is US dollars 100 million. Interest is fixed at 5.95% per annum. The loan tenor is 7 years. Grace period is 3 years. Commitment fees is 0.5% per annum on the undisbursed and cancelled balance of the facility. The legal fees is US dollars 25,000 up to signature of the agreement. Appraisal fees is 0.5% of the facility amount, and facility fee is 0.5% of the facility amount. Loan terms for US dollars 50 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badea public window. Facility amount is US dollars 50 million. The tenure is 20 years. Grace period is 5 years. Interest is 3% per annum fixed. 3. Loan term for the US dollars 25 million from the OPEC Fund for International Development. Facility amount US dollars 25 million. Interest 2.25% per annum. Grace period 2 years. Tenure is 10 years. Commitment fees 0.5% per annum on the unwithdrawn amount of the loan. Front-end fees 0.25% of the loan payable within 90 days from the date of effectiveness. The loan terms for the amounts to be borrowed directly by UDB and guaranteed by government of Uganda. 1 is 40 million from the Islamic Development Bank. Loan facility amount is 40 million US dollars. Interest is US dollars 10-year mid swap plus 2.80%. Grace period 2 years. Tenure is 10 years. Loan terms for USD 30 million from the Islamic Corporation for Development of the Private Sector. Facility amount is 30 million US dollars. Interest is floating 6M SOFR plus 2.8%. Grace period is 1 year. Tenure is 7 years. 3. Loan terms for the US dollars 30 million from the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation. Facility amount 30 million US dollars. Interest is term SOFR plus 2.5%. Grace period is not is 1 year revolving. Honorable colleagues, the detailed conditions for the loan are reflected in the main report as the chair will also present. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I now request Parliament the following. 1, to note that the effort government has put in place to support the private sector development, and 2, approve the request in line with Article 159 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, and yes, Madam Speaker, with this I beg to move.
Thank you. Honorable Ministers, person in charge, UDB, what is our loan portfolio with UDB?
Madam Speaker, the portfolio under UDB is in excess of 1.4 trillion now.
How is our recovery rate? What is the percentage recovery rate?
I need to get information about the recovery rate, Madam Speaker.
I need to get the portfolio, the recovery rate. I want the schedule. It's not for the house. I need a schedule of borrowers, and so that we make analysis whether we are doing a good business. I'm speaking from the banking sector. Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I read the report of the Committee on National Economy on the proposal to borrow up to $100 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, BADEA, private window, $50 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development, Africa, BADEA, private window, and $25 million from OPEC Fund for International Development, OFID, to capitalize the Uganda Development Bank Limited, and guarantee Uganda Development Bank Limited to directly borrow up to $40 million from Islamic Development Bank let me begin it afresh. And to guarantee Uganda Development Bank Limited to directly borrow up to $40 million
Madam Speaker, is it in order for my good friend, the Honorable Ikojo, to continue to defy your directions on separating the two loans?
Honorable Ikojo.
And he has virtually no report to furnish this house with.
Honorable
Moreover,
members,
the approvals will be done separately for the two loans.
we are going to do approval separately, but honorable members, you are the same people who accepted this report when it was laid on table. You should have said that let's have it separately. It was brought like that, and maybe it was an oversight that you just agreed like that. I wasn't in the house. Maybe we're all not there, but so let's have phase one first of borrowing.
Madam Speaker.
Right Honorable Speaker, there is one issue I would like to bring to your attention, and we request you to direct and be assertive. This report, the version uploaded, is not accessible by members of parliament. It's encrypted, and it's not the first time this is happening. The IT, the people in charge, upload documents that cannot be opened. It's encrypted. And this is a very serious matter that MPs need to read through. By our rules, this report should not even proceed, that the chairperson is laying and reading the report at the same time, and members of parliament are expected to make decisions.
What is IT people? What is happening?
It was put 5 hours ago, and this is not the first time I'm observing this. They usually encrypt it. You cannot open it on the iPad. You'll see the item, you open it, you cannot access it. Once we are seated here, they now display for members of parliament to read through as if we are in a nursery school.
So what was the use of giving us the iPads?
Yes, that must cease, because we can actually, if the house is serious, this report can be stayed for 3 days to allow members of parliament. Borrowing is committing this government, committing Ugandans present in the past in the present and in the future. So we should be in the know details. The minister is now telling us.
Can
figures.
anybody access that document on the iPad? Yes, Alebtong.
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker. If he's referring to the report from the committee, both the one from the main committee and also the minority report, I've been reading. It is there.
Madam Speaker, my point is, and you are the custodian of the rules, these reports are not supposed to be uploaded, and when we are here, we must access it well in advance. And this has been happening with so many even bills.
Okay,
and
it shall not happen again. It will not happen again. Do you even read even if I give you time? Stop that thing of saying we should be given time. If Oduru said, I would really accept it because you will read. You go ahead.
Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I seek for your indulgence that you allow me read the report the way the committee has prepared it, since the report was referred to the committee in that manner. But in the resolution, we shall separate the borrowing from the guarantee. Right Honourable Speaker.
You read on the borrowing first, and we first pass that.
Right
Either
Honourable
reject
Speaker,
or pass.
Most obliged, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development has already made a presentation, has already summarized the borrowing that was referred to the Committee on National Economy. Right Honourable Speaker, you remember that on the 5th of February, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development presented a loan request to this House for a proposal for government to borrow for recapitalization of UDB. The Committee on National Economy scrutinized the request in line with Article 159 of the Constitution, Section 36 of the Public Finance Management Act, PMFA 2015, as amended, and Rule 155 and 178 of the Rules of Procedure, and now I beg to report. Right Honourable Speaker, the Committee on National Economy interacted with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development and Uganda Development Bank Limited. The committee also reviewed the documents, and the committee further studied and made reference to the following documents: the minister's brief to Parliament on the loan, the draft financing agreement between Uganda Development Bank and OPEC, and the master installment sales agreement between UDB and Islamic Development Bank. Right Honourable Speaker, the number of documents that were presented to the committee, and the committee looked at all those documents. The minister gave the background to UDB, and in line with our rules of procedure, rule number 155 of the rules of procedure, the committee looked at rule number 155 that provides for the process to consider for consideration of loans in Parliament. This rule provides for the requisite documents that must accompany any loan request, and Table 1, as indicated above, shows that 4.67 out of 7 applicable documents were submitted in accordance with rule number 155, translating to the performance of 66.6%, 66.67%. The committee, the compliance assessment of the submitted documents are in line with our rule 155, and the table is as indicated above. the Right Honourable Speaker, I would beg that members look at it. On the performance of the previous lines of credit, Right Honourable Speaker, to date UDB had secured 15 lines of credit with a value of US dollars 155.5 million US dollars from 8 multinational multilateral development partners. 92% of the lines of credit had been disbursed to various projects. Out of the 158.5 million extended to the bank, UDB is servicing the interest payment on 10 credit lines worth 117 million US dollars as attached. Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister has already gave a summary of the cost of financing in terms of borrowing. The borrowing from the loan from the Arab Bank for Economic Development private window of 100 million shillings, 100 million US dollars. The Minister has already. The total loan of 100 million US dollars is for a period of 7 years with a grace period of 3 years that the Minister has already given. The loan has a fixed interest rate of 5.95% per annum. The facility also attracts other costs. That is legal, appraisal, commitment, and the facility fee. As indicated in the table above. Right, that is on borrowing. Right Honourable Speaker, still on Arab Development Bank in Africa, Badea, public window, 50 million US dollars was to be borrowed with a maturity period of 20 years, 5 years grace period, 15 years of loan prepayment, and the interest is fixed at 3% per annum. In the interest of time, Right Honourable Speaker, I'll request that the members go through the conditions of the loan as per requirement of Article 155 of the Constitution, that Parliament shall approve the loan, the terms and conditions of whatever borrowing that government decides on. Right Honourable Speaker, the committee on its recommendations, allow me go direct to the recommendations, if possible. Okay. Let me read the conditions. Since members have failed, I cannot access. The total loan amount of 50 million US dollars is for a period of 20 years with a grace period of 5 years. The loan has a fixed interest rate of 3% per annum. The conditions to the loan. The conditions precedent to the initial utilization of this facility includes, among others, the following. Conditions precedent to effectiveness, entry into the facility agreement, receipt of internal and external legal opinions in form and substance accepted to the lender, the receipt of a signed subsidiary agreement between the government of Uganda and UDBL, payment of appraisal, facility, commitment, and legal fees, and any other condition that the lender may reasonably request. Condition B, conditions prior to the first disbursement, declaration of effectiveness of the agreement, submission of names and specimen signatures of the persons authorized to sign disbursement applications, and to deal with all other issues related to implementation of the agreement, and all other conditions as may be agreed by the parties as conditions to first disbursement. Table 5 is on the opaque fund for international development. The loan amount is 25 million. The maturity period is 10 million, is 10 years. The grace period is 2 years. Repayment period is 8 years. Interest rate is fixed at 2.5%, as stipulated by the minister. The facility fee is 0.25 of the loan, payable within 90 days from the date of its effectiveness. Commitment is 0.25% per annum on unwithdrawn amount of the loan. The loan amount of US dollars 25 million is for a period of 10 years, as already indicated. The conditions to the opaque loan. The conditions precedent to the initial utilization of this facility includes, among others, A, requirement of the borrower, and B, a legal opinion issued by the Attorney General confirming that this loan agreement has been duly authorized and approved by the borrower and constitutes a valid and binding obligation of the borrower in accordance with its terms. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me look at the observations of the committee in line with the borrowing.
With the borrowing.
Right Honorable Speaker, the committee made the following observations and recommendations. Article 159 of the Constitution provides that government may borrow from any source, and the terms and conditions of the loan shall be laid before Parliament, and shall not come into operation unless they have been approved by resolution of Parliament. Section 36, subsection 5 of the PMFA Act necessitates that, with the exception of a loan raised for purposes of management of monetary policy, or raised through issuance of securities, the terms and conditions of the loan, of a loan raised by the minister shall be laid before Parliament, and the loan shall not be enforceable except where it is approved by Parliament by resolution. Through the minister's brief on the proposal to borrow, on the proposed borrowing, highlights some loan terms and conditions. Parliament can only ascertain the terms and conditions of a loan through a draft financing agreement. In this particular borrowing, the committee received a draft financing agreement from opaque fund for international development. That is the 25 million US dollars for international development. Opaque fund for international development, Islamic cooperation for development, and for private sector and international Islamic trade finance cooperation. However, the committee did not receive the draft financing agreement supporting the financing terms to borrow up to US dollars 100 million from the Arab Bank for International Development in Africa, Badea private window, and 50 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badea private window. In regard to Badea public window, the committee was given a letter from Badea indicating that the proposed terms of borrowing as indicated in the minister's brief and highlighted in table 4 of the report were subject to successful outcome of the due diligence and final approval of Badea's board of directors. This approval had not been shared by the time this report was prepared. Nothing was submitted regarding the proposed borrowing through the private window. The committee uses the draft financing agreement, which reflects the agreed terms and conditions between the lender and the borrower, to ascertain the proposed terms and conditions indicated in the minister's brief to Parliament. Whereas in most cases they are consistent, there have been instances where the terms reflected in the minister's brief to Parliament on the proposed borrowing are inconsistent with those in the draft financing agreement, or omitted some key conditions. For example, in April 2021, the Honorable Minister of Finance presented a motion for government to borrow for the meter gauge railway line. However, when the committee scrutinized the draft financing agreement, the terms submitted were different from those in the minister's motion, leading to a withdrawal of the motion and a new motion submitted consistent with the terms that had been submitted to the committee. Similarly, in May 2023, a motion for approval of a loan to Amarok Capital Limited and Sovereign Infrastructure Group was submitted, and during the consideration of the loan, the committee established that some conditions in the draft agreement had not been disclosed in the minister's brief to Parliament, which, among others, when pointed out in the committee's report, contributed to the withdrawal of the loan request by the minister. The recommendation, the committee recommends that the Minister of Finance should submit loan requests which have draft financing agreements. 2, the draft finance agreement in relation to the 2 loan facilities of Arab Development, Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badea, should be submitted to enable Parliament to consider the terms and conditions in accordance with Article 159 of the Constitution and Section 36 of the Public Finance Management Act. 2, the committee noted with concern that the Minister of Finance did not submit a list of financing options considered to inform the financing option proposed in this borrowing. This negates the requirements provided for in Rule 155, Sub-Rule 5B of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. The rationale for this is to ensure that there was an attempt to source the cheapest option as to minimize the cost of debt servicing to this country. The committee recommends that going forward, the ministry should always demonstrate that the proposals they submitted to Parliament are as a result of well-sourced affordable financing to minimize the growing debt servicing needs of the country, with an aim of maintaining debt in sustainable levels. This can only be verified through the tabling of the financing options considered while negotiating for the affordable credit. In conclusion, Right Honorable Speaker, the committee noted that Uganda Development Bank Limited lending portfolio is largely funded by Government of Uganda. Uganda's capital contribution and borrowings from external sources. By the end of November 2025, UDB capitalization stood at 1.5 trillion Uganda shillings, composed of 1.242 trillion government contribution and the retained earnings of 211 billion Uganda shillings.
Honorable Prime Minister, your people are going. Can't you say bye to them? Your voters. But before you say bye to them, first tell us the UDP outstanding loan portfolio.
Right Honorable
and then
Speaker.
the percentage of recovery rate.
Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, when you asked that question, I inquired from the manager, Mrs. Ojangole, and she told me the loan portfolio of UDB as we speak now is 1.4 trillion. And the recovery rate is 88 to 90%. Yes, it's one of the best in the country.
Okay.
That Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, I want to thank you for hosting the leaders of Kakumiro. That Honorable Speaker, the whole district is here.
Thank you.
Here we have all the LCCD chairpersons, all the district councillors, the chairperson NRM from all the 24 sub-counties that make Kakumiro district.
Thank you.
And also the women council leaders at district level. So I want to thank you for allowing them to witness and see for themselves what we do in the parliament.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You.
I wish you the best, my people.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for bringing able leaders. Thank you for bringing able leaders to Parliament. Bring them back.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Prime Minister, for
as you conclude,
waving at your people. As I conclude, Right Honorable Speaker, on the borrowing. The bank, however, remains undercapitalized, thus limiting the bank's ability to carry out its core business and mandate. Right Honorable Speaker, Uganda Development Bank Limited's funding needs have exponentially grown, as indicated by the Minister. The committee wishes to inform the House that based on the financial performance UDB presented low risk as indicated in Table 10, and should be in position to serve and will be in position to service its debt, including the new proposed borrowing. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee therefore recommends that this House recommends for this House to approve the proposal by government to borrow. The committee recommends the House to borrow up to $25 million shillings from OPEC Fund for International Development to capitalize UDB. Right Honorable Speaker, in light of the above, as highlighted in the first observation. The committee, in this report, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development did not table to the House or to the committee the draft financing agreement to support the borrowing of up to 100 million US dollars from Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa private window, 50 million US dollars from Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa private window. The committee is therefore constrained to recommend the approval of the proposal by government to borrow up to the 150 million US dollars from both the Badea private window and public window. I beg to move.
Honorable members, you're hearing what the chairman is saying. Whereas the committee is allowing the borrowing of 25 million USD, the committee is constrained, is rejecting the 150 for one reason. There was no due diligence that was done. The board did not approve. There was inconsistency in the agreement. There was no full disclosure, as you saw. So that is what the committee is asking. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. Honorable members, we are only allowing the 25, not the 100 what? Not the 150. I am going to put a final question. I was putting a question on what he was first saying. There is a minority report.
Right, Honorable Speaker. As I was beginning, my good friend Honorable Nambieshe disorganized me, so I did not inform the House that we have a minority report. We have a minority report that is signed by 4 members. The 4 members of the committee, and I therefore I would wish to lay the report of the majority and the minority report and invite the members who signed the minority report to present their report. I beg to lay.
Hassan Haji Ali Haji.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, our able chair, for the very good presentation. Madam Speaker, I'm here to present a minority report on these particular loans, and this minority report was signed by 4 members: myself, Chirumira Hassan, the Honorable Ebwaru Jonathan from Soroti, the Honorable Tebande K. Charles, and Honorable Onguzu Lee Dennis. Madam Speaker, we dissented from the majority committee report on the following fundamental matters. 1, the President's letter of consent to UDB borrowing, non-compliance with the constitutional provisions, and then the high interest rates on loans from UDB to Wananchi, and finally the inadequate information on UDB project beneficiaries. Madam Speaker, the President's letter on consent of UDB borrowing was categorical. It mentioned 235 million US dollars. This House going ahead to approve piecemeals of what the President requested is problematic, We cannot know the main intention as to why we are getting piecemeals of what was needed by UDB. Going ahead to approve one of the loans and rejecting the other compromises the letter of the president that requested $235 million US dollars. 2, non-compliance with the constitutional provisions. Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, Article 159 of the Constitution provides that government may borrow from any source, and the terms and conditions of the loan shall be laid before Parliament and shall not come into operation unless they have been approved by a resolution of Parliament. This august House can only ascertain the terms and conditions of the facility in question by scrutinizing the draft financing agreement. At this juncture, we agreed with our honorable colleagues, and consequently, they went ahead to reject one of the components of the loan. But like I said earlier, if the total amount of the loan was 235, there's no way we can reject part of the loan and accept the other when a directive from the president was categorical to the effect that we must borrow a certain amount of money to capitalize UDB. Number 3, the high interest rates on loans from UDB to wananchi. Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, in the president's letter of consent to borrowing, he praised the issue of interest rate not to be more than 12% per annum, for which UDB should lend to the wananchi. Colleagues, we feel that even the 12% per annum interest rate to the wananchi is too high, given that these loans are secured at less than 7%. We do request that Parliament and Bank of Uganda instruct UDB to lend wananchi at not more than 10%, because UDB money is taxpayers' money, whose terms should align with other government development programs like Myoga and parish development model. Right, Honorable Speaker, we are not convinced with the interest charged on these loans because they are secured from Islamic lenders who do not attract interests. Sharia law is very specific with loans. When Muslim banks are lending out money, it is basically on markup, not interests. Now we are wondering how interest-free loans from Muslim countries are arriving in Uganda at an interest. And we are wondering who is going to benefit from that particular interest. More specifically so, Madam Speaker, we continue to ask ourselves, why do we continue to secure credit on interest from these lenders? Interest on loan has left so many Muslim brothers and sisters out of the money economy since they cannot borrow on interest. And in line with inclusivity, we ought to consider those who are against interest borrowing. And this opportunity of borrowing from Muslim countries can help to that effect. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, inadequate information on UDB project beneficiaries. Right Honorable Speaker, before this House approves the funding, the Committee on National Economy needed to physically visit funded projects and real beneficiaries. Many times this country has financed ghost projects, ghost workers, and ghost pensioners, among others. UDB credit is designed to benefit all regions in the country. But in many instances, it is the rich people in Kampala and the surroundings who benefit from these cheap finances to raise their stalled buildings and arcades. Honorable Speaker, I'm not so sure how many people benefited from UDB from Luwero, even Bukedia, I'm not so certain, from Soroti and other countries, other areas of the country. The committee finds no reason. The committee finds no reason to visit a sample of the project beneficiaries before Parliament approves this loan. Right, Honourable Speaker, we recommend that though such loans don't directly impact government debt, we can leave the aims and objectives for inception and creation of UDB in saving the wananchi through: 1, the ministry responsible for finance updates the House on the exact loan amount needed to capitalize UDB, instead of going for a piecemeal loan as per the main committee report. 2, the Ministry of Finance through Bank of Uganda recommends a single-digit interest rate for borrowers. Second last, the Committee for National Economy visits UDB project beneficiaries and ascertains exactly the impact of these loans to the wananchi. Then the House be informed on how Sharia permission clauses within this House be informed on how the Sharia permission clauses within the agreement will be employed to customers under Bank of Uganda. Right, Honourable Speaker, we all agree that we are supposed to borrow as a country as per our budget, but borrowing need to be as a matter of necessity, and it must follow the rules and procedures. I beg to submit.
Madam Speaker, we know that.
Can you sit? Honorable members, when you start making a noise, procedure or what, if you want to say something, must you shout? For me, my ears hear. If yours are blocked, honorable members, Haji has raised very pertinent issues. Very pertinent issues, and the fact is we need to capitalize UDB. But before we capitalize UDB, I know we have UDB and its clients have a fiducial relationship. We can have a limited number. I can look at the documents alone. We can look at the borrowers, the schedule of borrowers. Because Haji is talking about that people in Kanung may not be getting what. For us in Bukeda we get. Let me have a schedule of the borrowers. Let me know the portfolio, exact portfolio. Then let's also have the information gap that is there. There is an information gap. Documents that are not provided for be given to the committee. Because what Honorable Hassan says, it is a good thing for us to give UDB the money. let's not give UDB money in bits. If we decide to give, let's give. But what is important is let's have the information. Let's have an approval from the board, the due diligence. Then we will have these loans approved, such that we have a report on the borrowing and we have a report on guaranteeing. Is that okay, Minister of Finance?
Madam Speaker and colleagues, I totally agree with you and also the colleagues, both from the majority and the minority, that there is more information we need to provide to the House. And in this regard, I beg that we stand over this report as I provide all the necessary information.
Thank you. Please provide all that information to the committee, and then the committee will come back when it's ready with the report. Next item.
Item 5.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to be guided by you, because you see there's a report that's been tabled and presented to us. I don't think we can stand over it, because standing over it means we shall get back to it, which doesn't quite apply.
Pardon?
I think that either this report is withdrawn or we throw it out somehow, and then you come up with, the committee comes with an entirely new report. But to say we pause and then we shall get back to this particular report, not quite. Because this report is complete as it is.
We are standing over to address the issues that have been raised. We have not rejected the report. The report is okay. We are standing over to address the issues raised.
Maybe guide me right, Honourable Speaker. So the issues that have been raised, very critical. We have got to deal with them. But you see, they can only be embedded into this report when it comes as a new report. I don't think there can be an addendum. No, it can't be an addendum. It's got to be, these issues have got to be interrogated anew, and then a fresh report is brought. So I thought that procedurally, so that the records capture properly, we do away with this report. This one here does not get to see the light of day.
Madam Speaker, I am addressing you as Shadow Minister for Finance. But I also want to tap to my experience here.
Honorable members, the committee leadership will address those issues in their reporting of what was not there, assuming, like they are saying, there was no body decision. Now we have the body decision. There was ABCD. Now it is available, and this, based on this, our allied suggestion of not borrowing to a tune of this amount. Now we can borrow because we have the information. Let me first hear from my Attorney General.
Madam, if you can allow me.
Let me hear from, yes?
Yeah, because you see, Madam Speaker, and it doesn't matter how many degrees you have in law. You see, this parliament has existed. I am lucky I've been here for a while. There has never been a day when you bring here a motion, they read a report, a motion is moved, and then when you're about to lose it, you say, oh, let me provide more information. It has never happened. This is strange. The minister needs to run from the UPDF Act. If you want to bring new information, you withdraw. And then you return with a fresh motion that has all the information. Because that's what the UPDF should have done, that you wait to also have this information. So, Madam Speaker, this is a strange.
Standing over is a standard practice in parliamentary practice. That's why we stand over clauses. I mean, why are we complicating life? Why?
Madam Speaker,
Honorable Baka.
Thanks very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Usually when we're in the committee stage and we stand over particular clauses, its implication is we have failed to agree. let's go back and see how we agree. Does not mean that you send it back. So you can stand over, agree on what you want to propose so that the dressing can be uniform.
And maybe for information, we are standing over the motion, not the report. The report is informative to allow the borrowing. We are standing over the motion to borrow.
Madam Speaker, the recommendation of the committee
is
that
informative.
125 million don't borrow. They did not provide the following information.
And that's why I say that is informative.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, if you can allow, what should happen, and I want to implore the Honorable Musasizi, because the sky will not come down, withdraw the motion.
Which one?
Reintroduce it. Provide all the information. The committee can process it. Now when you bring fresh information in Parliament here, you mean Parliament will become a committee and will begin scrutinizing?
Honorable members, we are giving Honorable Musasi's time to furnish the relevant information that is required, that is missing, for us to be able to allow the borrowing of UDB and guaranteeing UDB. And the reports that should be informative should be in different, should be made differently. One for borrowing and one for guaranteeing. Next item.
Item 6 on the order paper. Bill second reading. The Public Service Pension Fund Bill 2024.
Honorable members, you may recall that on 19 December 2024, the Minister of Public Service tabled the Public Service Pension Fund Bill for the first reading pursuant to Rule 129 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. The bill was referred to the Sectoral Committee of Public Service and Local Government, and the committee is ready to report. But before the committee reports, we will ask the minister to move a motion for the bill to be read the second time. Honorable Minister, order on who? No. Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members.
Honorable Seungu, you first sit.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members.
You first sit. Sit. Honorable Minister.
In accordance with Rule 130 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Public Service Pension Fund Bill 2024 be read a second time. I beg to move.
Seconded. Seconded by Jonathan. Honorable, seconded by Honorable Jonathan Odur. Honorable Jonathan Ebwalu. Honorable Kirumira Hassan. Honorable Ethel Helen Egweri Aru. Honorable Kasolo. Ikik. Honorable Mbwa. Honorable Florence. Emmanuel. Two Emmanuels. Acrobat. Koluo. Okot. Okelo. Casilo. Honorable Fisheries. What an Aisha Sekinde. Honorable Prime Minister. Deputy Prime Minister Saro Pendi by the whole side of NRM, and David the other side, and the Honorable Akum Mavengina, and the elders. Your new PDF, Honorable Alanyo, would you want to speak a little to the objectives of your...
Much obliged, Right Honourable Speaker. The object of this bill is to provide for the establishment of a public service pension fund and a public service pension scheme, and provide for the governance, the functions, organization and management of the fund, to provide for the collection of contributions to the fund and payment of retirement benefits to pensioners and their survivors, to provide for the investment of the monies of the fund and for related matters. With this bill, Right Honourable Speaker, that the ills that we are facing under the current scheme will be history. Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Mapenduchi, could you give us a summary? Yes, but...
Madam Speaker, under the rules, you provide us with the seats here, and the first priority goes to your ministers on government and the opposition. The Honourable Baram Barugahari has sat there for over 20 minutes conducting a different meeting within your house. Started with Honorable Yabe, she went away. Now he has brought two others with the phones. They are conducting business before you. Is it in order for the Honorable Minister to sit there and conduct business against your will, yet we are here following everything in the directive of the Speaker? And would it be directed that he is directed to come and sit in front to avoid distracting your members, whom he is conversing with internal as if he is on attending a rally, Madam Speaker?
Honorable Balam.
Right Honorable.
Honorable Balam, we have just passed rules in this house, and you're privileged to always sit on the front bench. And based on that, can you just shift and come to the front bench and leave us, the smaller people, to sit behind? Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Now my Muko from Abim is also moving from one place to the other. I think he thinks he's looking after cows. There are no cows in the house. Okay.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members. As I embarked on this assignment, Honourable Speaker, permit me to lay on table the report of the committee together with the minutes of the committee meetings. I beg to lay.
Please do. Thank you.
Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members, permit me to present the report of the Committee of Public Service and Local Government on the Public Service Pension Fund Bill 2024. Right Honourable Speaker, the Public Service Pension Fund Bill 2024 was read for the first time on 19th December 2024 by the Minister of Public Service and referred to the Sectoral Committee on Public Service and Local Government for scrutiny, in accordance with Rule 129 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker, the committee scrutinized the bill as required by Rule 129(2) of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, and hereby reports to this House in accordance with Rule 132 of the same rule. The object of the bill. The bill seeks to establish the Public Service Pension Fund Bill and the Public Service Pension Scheme, provide for the governance, functions, organization, and management of the fund, provide for the allocation of contributions to the fund and payment of retirement benefits, provide for the investment of the monies of the fund, and to repeal the Pension Act Cap 89. Number 3, need for the bill. Right Honorable Speaker, currently, the government operates an unfunded, non-contributory defined benefit scheme for the public service, regulated under the Pensions Act Cap 89, which was enacted in 1946. In 1946. The Pensions Act provides for the guaranteeing and regulation of pensions and gratuities for public service officers under the government of Uganda. The benefits include a lump sum amount given upon retirement and a monthly pension based on the last pensionable salary of a civil servant at a fraction of 1/500th, or in simple terms, 1/500. Right Honorable Speaker, various actuarial studies on the current pension scheme reveal that it needed drastic change. For instance, a World Bank actuarial study in 2021 recommended a number of redesign options, pushing for a contributory scheme. In 2022, Right Honorable Speaker, government commissioned an actuarial valuation and also recommended a funded contributory scheme. According to the 2022 actuarial study, Uganda had 334,146 civil servants and 64,855 pensioners. For financial year 2021-22, the total annual pensionable emolument amounted to 2,868 billion, and the annual pension amounted to 315 billion Uganda shilling. These figures excluded members of the armed forces, non-pensionable employees who earn gratuity. In financial year 2022-23, the total annual pensionable emolument was to increase by 33%, amounting to Uganda shilling 3,823 billion. Basing on projections, the government expenditure on pension would rise from around 940 billion in financial year 2020-2023 to 14,561 in the year 2053. Even if the current scheme was closed to new entrants. As such, the current pension scheme is unrealistic and unaffordable and unsustainable. The evaluation study, Right Honorable Speaker, recommended a modified plan that preserves the current defined benefit basis, but with a lower fraction of 1/600th or 1/600 and a contributory scheme funded by member contributions. Accordingly, the Public Service Pension Fund Bill 2024 introduces a contributory pension scheme designed to provide a sustainable source of funds for pensions. The bill proposes the establishment of a public service pension fund which shall be a body corporate and shall operate the public service pension scheme for employees in public service and other public service who elect to join the scheme. The fund will collect the contributions, keep records, mobilize resources for the management of the scheme, investment of monies to finance the payment of benefits out of the scheme. The new arrangement is intended to improve the management of pensions and reduce government expenditure and liability of paying pensions directly from the consolidated fund. Honorable Speaker, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development issued a certificate of financial implication as required under Section 74 of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 171, and in accordance with Article 93 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as amended. The certificate indicated that the new scheme will lead to increased national savings, thus availability of cheaper long-term financing, mainly for private sector investment, which will result into economic growth. According to the certificate of financial implication, the bill has a total implication of 19.736 trillion, of which Uganda shilling 363.34 billion projected is required in the first year of implementation, and Uganda shilling 1.901 billion for reform activities. There are no expected revenues or savings in the short to medium term, but a reduced pension liability to the government in the long term. And Right Honorable Speaker, an analysis of the financial aspect of the pension reform proposal in Uganda was conducted and is attached as Appendix 1. Right Honorable Speaker, in the interest of time, methodology, I'll request that you look through and permit me to take you to page 5. We also, under B, conducted documentary review of the following literatures. You can look through those different literatures that we looked at. I'll take you then, Right Honorable Speaker, if you'll permit, to number 5, which is Committee Observations and Recommendations. Honorable Speaker, the committee observes and hereby makes recommendations on the salient parts of the bill. 5.1, mandatory contributions. The current scheme under the Pension Act Cap 89 is fully unfunded and payments are done directly from the consolidated fund. Clause 27 provides for payment of the mandatory contributions to fund the scheme. The mandatory contributions are 5% of the basic salary of the employee and 10% from the employer. Contributions must be paid to the fund by the 15th day of the month following the month for which the salary is paid. Clause 27(6) allows the minister, based on actual valuation, to verify the contribution rates through a statutory instrument. Committee observation. The committee observed that A, with a contributory scheme, the liability of the government will be reduced compared to the current unfunded scheme. Additionally, the new scheme will encourage employees to take an interest in its success as a joint venture with the government, which will enhance its performance. B, most schemes worldwide are moving towards contributory systems. In Uganda, for instance, employees of Makerere University on pensionable terms subscribe to the Makerere University Retirement Benefits Scheme with contributions of 5% from the employee and 10% from the government. In addition, actuarial studies have recommended a contributory scheme for the public service of Uganda for a sustainable pension system. C, based on the contribution, employees' take-home salary would decrease by 5%. The Ministry of Public Service and stakeholders propose having a salary enhancement of 5% across board as a way to offset the effect of the mandatory deduction on the employees' future take-home. Recommendations. A, the committee recommends that the government should prioritize the enhancement of salaries to ensure that the 5% deduction of the employee's salary does not affect their take-home. B, ultimately, government should revise salaries equally across the board in order to address the poor pay of public servants and the significant salary discrepancies between the different categories of civil servants. 5.2, pension formula for benefit, for future benefits. The current formula provides a pension fraction of 1/500th under Section 4 of the Pension Act Cap 89. The proposed formula is the new law, in the new law is 1/600 under Clause 40 of the bill. While stakeholders express support for the bill, there is general concern that the proposed formula will reduce the eventual pension payable to a civil servant. The committee received proposals for other fractions as low as 1/400th and 50th, as well as proposals to maintain the current 1/500th or 1/500. The fractions are illustrated below, and we have provided, Right Honorable Speaker, some calculation to demonstrate what would be the implication of the fraction. You will see the old pension scheme. We have done the calculation, and you see the proposed fraction in the scheme. We have also provided the calculation just for demonstration. Following the same formula, Right Honorable Speaker, the proposal for 1/450 produces a final monthly take-home pension package of this. We are just giving a summary of the example we gave. While acknowledging the concerns of public servants that by the proposed fraction, the pension payable to public servants will be less, there is a real concern that the current scheme poses a risk of continued delays in processing of benefits payment, security, and sustainability of payment. The committee observed that the actual study by the World Bank and a study commissioned by the government of Uganda recommended a reduced fraction to 1/600. This would ensure that government does not fail in its commitment to provide pension for its employees. For the sustainability of pensions and social security of Uganda's public servants, it is important to follow the recommendation in the evaluation reports. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that the pension formula for future benefits at a rate of 1/600 should be adopted. As in the bill, however, as recommended above, government should expedite the plan for salary enhancement across board so that the pension fraction of 1/600 does not negatively impact on the employee's pension. 5.3, the Board of Trustees. Clause 8 provides for the Board of Trustees appointed by the Minister with the approval of Cabinet. The board comprises the representative from the ministries of Finance, Labor, Public Service, Local Government, Public Service, Labor Unions, and 3 technical persons not being public officers. The committee observes that the employer, which is government, takes the lion's share of the representation on the board, whereas only 2 persons shall represent public service labor unions and 3 shall be experts of different fields. There is no representation of pensioners on the board. Under Clause 8.1e, the 2 representatives of public service labor unions are nominated by the center. The center is unidentified, and the provision does not detail how it shall nominate the 2 representatives out of the many public service labor unions in the country. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that A, the number of representatives of public service labor unions should be increased from 2 to 3, one of whom should be a pensioner. B, the representatives of public service labor unions should be nominated by the registered federations of labor unions. C, the number of experts under Clause 8.1f should be reduced to 2 to cover the increase in the number of the representatives of the labor unions, and considering that the ministry's representatives shall be experts in related fields. 6.0, other observations and recommendations. Clause 2, interpretation. Clause 2 provides for the interpretation of key terms used in the bill. The committee observes that there are pertinent terms used in the bill that have not been identified, such as administrator, fund manager, gratuity, and scheme. The committee also observes that there are definitions such as actual rate, accrual rate, annuity, early retirement, and pensions authority that have been defined but are not used elsewhere in the bill. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends that 1, the undefined keywords in the bill be defined to avoid misinterpretation and misapplication of the words. 2, the definition of actual rate, annuity, early retirement, and pensions authority should be deleted because they are redundant. Clause 4, application of the Act. Right Honorable Speaker, Clause 4 provides that the Act shall apply to employees in the public service and employees of the other public service who elect to join the scheme. Other public service is defined as public service in government agencies, departments, authorities, boards, or commissions subscribing to retirement benefit scheme other than the pensions scheme. The committee observed that most entities that fall under this definition of other public service operate mandatory schemes, such as the Makerere University Retirement Benefit Scheme and the Parliamentary Pension Scheme. Similarly, the National Social Security Fund Act, Cap 230, under Section 7, has a mandatory requirement for eligible employees, including those of the other public service, to register with the NSSF. Clause 4.2 excludes persons in elective positions, members of the armed forces, employees of security organizations, employees in other public service subscribing to existing retirement benefit schemes, employees in the public service who are left with 5 years to attain the mandatory retirement age and who have not elected to join the scheme, and any other category that may be expressly exempted by law. Clause 4 also gives a ministerial discretion to prescribe employees to whom this law may be or may not apply. Committee observations. 1, The committee observes that allowing employees to elect to join the Public Service Pension Fund may cause unforeseen risk, unwarranted legal battles, and challenges in management and payment of retirement and pension benefits of these employees. 2, while the employee may elect to join the scheme, the clause is silent on the sponsor or employer who in the same institution may not remit an employee's benefits to the public service scheme and may thus contradict other existing retirement or pension laws like the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority Act Cap 232. Clause 4. Clause 4.2e is silent on the fate of the public servant who is left with less than 5 years to retire. Additionally, this clause assumes a voluntary element in the law, even though the scheme being created is intended to be mandatory. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends that, Roman number 1, the bill should focus on employees in the mainstream public service covered under the current pension scheme. 2, the employee in public service in government agencies, department, authorities, boards, or commissions, which is referred to as other public service, should be covered in this scheme. Should not be covered in this scheme. 3, since the bill is a contributory scheme, it should not give the employees who are left with 5 years or less to retire an option to elect to join the scheme because they will not have sustainably contributed to the scheme. 4, clause 4.2e should include employees who are left with less than 5 years to attain mandatory retirement age. Clause 9, functions of the board. Right Honorable Speaker, Clause 9 outlines the functions of the Board of Trustees. The board is responsible for the oversight and management of both the Public Service Pension Fund and the pension scheme. This includes ensuring that the fund is managed in accordance with the Act and other relevant laws, collecting contributions, approving the annual work plans and budgets, and appointing service providers such as fund managers, custodians, accountants, auditors, and actuaries. These functions are critical for ensuring the effective governance, transparency, and sustainability of the Public Service Pension Fund, ultimately protecting the interests of its members. Committee observation. The committee observed that one of the functions under subclause 1c is to collect contributions from pensionable employees. This is a day-to-day operation of the fund, yet it is a good governance practice for a board not to be involved in the day-to-day operation of an entity. The functions of the board should thus be limited to oversight and management. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends that the board should be limited to oversight and management functions of the fund only. Clause 10, tenure of office. Clause 10 of the bill outlines the tenure of office of members of the Board of Trustees. The members of the Board of Trustees are to serve a 3-year term and may be reappointed for 1 additional term based on satisfactory performance. This provision ensures that the Board of Trustees is composed of competent individuals with clear processes for appointment, resignation, and removal to maintain effective governance. Committee observation. The committee observes that under subsection 5, subclause 5, a person representing an institution may be withdrawn from the board by the institution, which can be subject to abuse by institution head, who might have grudges or personal interest against the representative. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that the person who is representing an institution should be withdrawn by the institution on the approval of the minister. Clause 12, filling vacancies of the board. Clause 12 provides for filling of vacancies of the board. When a member of the board is removed from office, the minister must appoint a replacement within 6 months. This ensures the board remains fully functional and can continue its duties without significant disruption. The new member or chairperson serves only for an unexpired period of the term of the member they are replacing. Committee observation. The committee observes that, A, unlike subclause 1, subclause 2 does not provide for timeline within which a minister should appoint the chairperson of the board in case of the vacancy. This might create delays in the appointment and stifle the operations of the board. B, Additionally, this provision only mentions removal of a member from office, yet vacancies might be created through death or resignation. C. The new member of the board is expected to only serve the remainder of the term of office of the person that has exited. However, for purposes of maintaining institutional memory, the new member should serve for a full term of 3 years. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that A. Subclause 1 and 2 should apply to both the chairperson and the members so that the timelines apply to both chairperson and members. 2. Or B. This provision should include death and resignation, not only removal from office. C. A new member appointed to replace a member who exited the board should serve a full term of office. Clause 20. Appointment of other staff of the fund. Right Honorable Speaker, Clause 20 of the bill details the appointment of staff necessary for the effective performance of the fund. The other staff, including the secretary to the board, are appointed by the board on the advice of the chief executive officer. The staff are appointed under this clause to all office based on terms and conditions determined by the board and specified in their instrument of appointment. However, the terms and conditions of employment for other staff are determined by the board in consultation with the minister. Committee observation. The committee observes that although the requirement for the minister under subclause 3 ensures that staffing decisions align with the broader government policies and regulations, this might lay the foundation for unnecessary bureaucracies in the day-to-day functions of the board. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends that in determining the terms and conditions of employment of other staff of the fund by the board, this function should entirely be the mandate of the board. Clause 21, interim management. Right Honorable Speaker, Clause 21 of the bill provides for the appointment of an interim chief executive officer and other staff of the fund. The minister is responsible for seconding an interim executive officer and other staff from the public service to manage the fund during the first 3 years. This clause ensures that the fund has immediate leadership and staff to manage its operation from the onset. Committee observation. The committee observes that there is a need for the minister to appoint service providers during the interim period, yet they are critical for funds stability and effective functioning, especially at the initial stages of the fund. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that A. Minister should appoint an administrator and other service providers to support the interim management during the interim period. 2. The interim period should be reduced from 3 years to 2 years to expedite the transition process. Clause 23, establishment of the scheme. Right Honorable Speaker, Clause 23 of the bill outlines the establishment of the public service pension scheme. The fund is mandated to establish and operate a contributory defined pension scheme known as the public service pension scheme. Both the employer and the employee are required to make contributions. The scheme is a defined benefit pension scheme, which means that the benefits are predetermined based on factors such as salary, history, and duration of employment. Committee observation. The committee observes that this clause is crucial as it lays the foundation for the establishment and operation of the pension scheme. However, the task to establish the scheme has been left to the fund, yet the scheme should be created under the law. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that the scheme should be expressly established under Clause 23. Clause 24, membership of the scheme. Clause 24 outlines the membership criteria for the public service pension scheme. Under this provision, an employee in the public service who has more than 5 years left until they reach the mandatory retirement age is required to join the scheme. Like in Clause 4, this provision invites employees who have 5 years left until mandatory retirement and members of the other public service who are not part of a similar retirement benefit scheme. It is the duty of the responsible officer to transfer relevant pension files and information to the fund for these employees. Employees who elect to join the scheme must be registered within 30 days of their decision or from when they assume duty. Committee observation. The committee observes that Clause 24 refers to membership of the scheme, yet the scheme is not a body corporate under this law. The fund is the body corporate mandated to execute the functions provided under this act, not the scheme. Therefore, there must be a clear nexus between the fund, the body corporate, and the members. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends that A, the members should be members of the fund and not members of the scheme. B, as already recommended under Clause 4, employees in other public service should not be included as members of the fund. C, employees with less than 5 years to attain mandatory retirement age should be provided for. Clause 26, which is cancellation of registration. Clause 26.1 provides for cancellation of registration of an employee on notification by the responsible officer that the employee has ceased to be an employee and has elected not to continue contributing to the fund. Committee observations. The committee observes that the proposed pension scheme does not envision continuation of contribution after a person ceases to be an employee. Hence, the second part of the clause is redundant. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends deletion of the words "and that employee has elected not to continue contributing to the fund." Clause 27, mandatory contribution. Clause 27.6 and 27.7 gives the minister powers to vary the rates of contributions being on an actual valuation. The committee observes that Clause 27 on the mandatory contribution is a substantive part of the bill that should not be varied by statutory instrument. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends deletion of both subclause, clauses 6 and 7. Clause 34, qualifying period for pension. The qualifying period for pension is defined in Clause 2 as the length of service in public service or other public service which a member shall serve before qualifying for pensionable service. The qualifying period for pension for employees of the public service is at least 10 years of continuous service in a pensionable position or an aggregate period of at least 10 years in public service, including periods when the employee is on leave without pay or has just joined other public service. Employees who have not served the full 10 years may still qualify for a pension under specific circumstances, such as retrenchment, abolition of office, and medical grounds. This clause is crucial as it sets the minimum service requirement for pension eligibility, while also providing for exceptional cases where employees can still receive pension benefit despite not meeting the 10-year service threshold. Committee observation. The committee observes that A, the deletion of other public service under the proposed amendments of Clause 4 applies to this provision. B, a new phrase, appointing authority, has been introduced in this clause. It only appears in Clause 34 and 46 and is not defined. It appears to refer to employer, a word which has been consistently used in the bill. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that the term appointing authority should be substituted with the word employer, which is commonly used in the bill. Clause 36, qualifying for payment. Right Honorable Speaker, Clause 36 outlines the criteria for members to qualify for the payment of a pension, including upon mandatory retirement age, which is 60 years. After 20 years of continuous service in public service, upon reaching 45 years of age and having served the qualifying period, which is 10 years, upon death and having served the qualifying period, abolition of office on medical grounds, retirement in public interest, and transfer to other public service. This clause also provides for payment to a legal representative upon death of a member, which is for a maximum period of 15 years, and a minimum pension of a quarter of the last pensionable emolument, if the pension calculated under the Act is less than the minimum pension. Committee observation. Committee observation. The committee observes that A, subclause 1B, which provides for the condition of 20 years, is not conditioned on retirement of the member. This means that a member can get pension after 20 years even when still in service. Yet, pension is supposed to be received after a member has ceased to be in service. B, Subclause 1C has the same issue as 36(1)D because the 45 years are not conditioned on end of service of the member. C, the payment to a legal representative for a maximum period of 15 years in clause 36(2) has not been qualified. It should be from the death of the employee. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends that a member should qualify for pension under this clause upon exit from the public service. B, in subclause 2, the pension granted under subsection 1D shall be paid for a maximum period of 15 years after the death of the employee to the legal representative or of the member's estate. Clause 38, refund of contribution. Clause 38 provides for a one-off refund of contributions for specific categories of members. It also provides for refund where excess contributions has been made. Committee observation. The committee observed that subclauses 1B, C, and D are unfair because even after a member has qualified for pension under the Act, they shall lose their pension on the basis of dismissal, abscondment, or resignation. The years of an employee in service do not matter. For instance, an employee who absconds at the age of 59, having served in public service for 30 years, will not get pension. Committee recommendation. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that subclause 1B, C, and D should be limited to employees who have not qualified for pension under clause 36 or gratuity under clause 37. Clause 44, reappointment of an employee into pensionable service. Right Honorable Speaker, clause 44 provides for previously earned benefits of a member who has been reappointed into pensionable service. That such benefit shall be added to the subsequent pensionable service if that member has not received any retirement benefits in relation to previous pensionable service. Committee observation. The committee observes that under this clause, the members who are reappointed into pensionable service after receiving part of their pension shall lose the rest of their pension. B, there is no provision on how to cater for the balance of retirement benefits that have already accrued to the member. Recommendations. The committee recommends that a member should not lose their pension after reappointment into pensionable service because they have already earned it for all of the years they spent in the service. New service does not take away all service or its accrued benefits. Clause 47, computation of benefits in case of abolition of office. This clause provides for pension and gratuity benefits to employees who are retired due to the abolition of the office they hold. It ensures that employees whose positions are eliminated are still entitled to pension and gratuity regardless of the duration of their qualifying period for pension, provided they are confirmed in service. Committee observation. The committee observes that there are 3 benefits included under this provision, namely a pension, a gratuity, and an additional pension. The committee opines that these benefits need to be moderate so that a pension and a gratuity is sufficient for a person whose office is abolished, instead of getting all the 3. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that the bill should provide for only a pension and gratuity for a person whose office is abolished. Clause 48, no alienation or attachment of pension. Clause 48(1)(a) provides that a pension, gratuity, or other allowance granted under this act shall not be assignable or transferable and shall not be attached, confiscated, or levied upon in respect of any debt or claim except for the purposes of satisfying a debt due to the government or a debt relating to a tax due and payable. Committee observation. The committee observes that the spirit of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda 1995 is to protect pension from tax. Article 254(2) of the Constitution provides that the pension payable to any person shall be exempt from tax and shall be subject to periodic review to take account of changes in the value of money. Clause 48(1)(a) does not align with the spirit of Article 254(2) of the Constitution. B, Section 70 of the Uganda Retirement Benefits Authority Act, Cap 232, is also written in the same spirit. It provides for protection of a member's contribution and states, notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in any other written law, where a judgment or order against a member of a retirement benefit scheme is made, no execution or attachment or process of any nature shall be issued in respect of the contribution or funds of the member. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that Clause 48(1)(a) be deleted. Clause 54, reserve account. Right Honorable Speaker, Clause 54 outlines the establishment and management of the reserve account. The board is required to open and operate a reserve account. The reserve account will be funded by fines and penalties imposed by the Act, special contributions, income from investment as determined by the minister in consultation with the board, any other monies directed by the minister. Committee observation. The committee observes that subclause 1B, which provides for special contribution, is vague. Special contributions are not defined. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends that subclause 1B should be deleted because the bill does not make provision for special contributions. Clause 56 and 57. Clause 56 provides for annual report, and Clause 57 provides for recovery of sums due to the fund. Clause 57A appears to have been misplaced or wrongly moved from Clause 56. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that Clause 57.
Is it 57A or 57.3? Clause 57.3 appears to have been misplaced or wrongly moved. You had read A, it is 3.
3. Thank you. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that Clause 57.3 be moved to Clause 56. Clause 58, investment. Right Honorable Speaker, under Clause 58.4, the board is required to develop a financial plan for each financial year. The committee observes that 1 year is a short time for an investment plan to be developed and implemented. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that the investment plan should be developed every 3 years. Clause 66, power to make regulations. Clause 66 of the bill outlines the minister's power to make regulations to give effect to the provision of the Act. The regulations made under this section must be laid before Parliament. Committee observation. The committee observes that subclause 3 does not mention the reason for laying the regulations before Parliament and the timelines that follow. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that the regulation should be laid before Parliament for approval and timeline given within which Parliament receives and approves the regulation. Clause 69. Effect of the Pensions Act on the existing public service pension scheme. Clause 69 of the bill outlines the effect of the Pensions Act Cap 89 on the existing public service pension scheme. The existing non-contributory public service pension scheme will cease to take on new members within 12 months after the commencement of the new act. This transition aims to gradually phase out the old scheme and introduce the new contributory scheme. Committee observation. The committee observes that closure of the existing scheme is not explicitly mentioned in the bill. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that the clause should explicitly mention that the non-contributory public service pension scheme existing immediately before the commencement of this act shall, within 6 months from the date of the death of the least beneficiary, be dissolved. Clause 70. Preservation and payment of accrued pension rights. Right Honorable Speaker, Clause 69 of the bill addresses the preservation and payment of pension rights that have accrued under the Pension Act Cap 89. Committee observation. The committee observes that a new phrase, redemption bond, has been used in the bill, yet retirement bond is provided for under Clause 51 and is defined. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that retirement bond is used instead of redemption bond. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for a very exhaustive report. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Baka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hey, you relax, you are Bakablindi.
Baka is back.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I raise up to support the report of the committee, and I pray that this House passes this into law. Madam Speaker, contributory scheme, for me the keyword is sustainability. A contributory scheme is more sustainable, more accountable, and the pensioners are likely to be getting even more money when the time comes for them to start earning from their contributions. So I'm so happy that the government came up with this idea, and I'm also very happy with the committee. And with the panel beating they have done on the law, I think we are going to make a very good law. On the issues of management, I'm also in concurrence with the committee for creating a robust management board that will oversee. Because this fund is going to grow exponentially. It's going to be a very big fund, much bigger than all these funds we are seeing around. So the management has been well catered for, and I think the committee has done a very good job. However, finally, Madam Speaker, the issue where I heard that there is a clause where a pensioner could lose pension even at the age of 59 if they absconded from service. I would propose that when it comes to that time, we take a lot of keen interest.
Why don't you wait and go to that clause and make amendment?
Exactly. My proposal will be that a pensioner probably loses the contribution from government, but their hard-earned money which they contributed should be given to them when that time comes. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
There's a motion.
Madam Speaker, I have carefully listened to the chairperson of the committee. He's been very clear, very exhaustive, and we have gone through this report. I move a motion that we move to committee stage so that we shall have sufficient time to move clause by clause. I beg to move.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Yes. Seconded by Ethel, by Baka, by Honorable Victoria. Honorable members, you want to debate on the report or on the bill? On the report. Just know that you have to finish. Whether you debate and sit up to midnight, okay. Mine is local government. Yes, Honorable Nzima.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank, and I also want to thank the committee for the robust report. I think this report has come here for the second time. The first time the report was presented, and there were areas which were recommended for amendment, and the amendments were actually more. They were over 60%. And in my opinion, what the committee has just done is to go through with the ministry to correct those areas, which is already been done. And just as the Honorable Baka has said, the major principle of this bill is just to bring into force a contributory scheme, which will promote sustainability, and these issues of arrears, where pensioners are not paid money, it is in arrears, this will not arise. So basically, I've just stood to support the motion. That
Thank you.
Instead of wasting time to debate this, the motion which was raised by Honorable Ebalu, that let's go to committee stage and look into this. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much. He has been a chairperson of that committee. He knows that committee. And you see the wisdom in him. It has been seconded. Why don't you, members, why don't we look at this clause by clause? Lepton.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, majority of us in this House will agree that we needed this report like yesterday or even before. So I see as to why we should hesitate to move to the committee stage so that we can handle them clause by clause. These things we all agree we really need them. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now put a question at the Public Service Pension Fund Bill 2024 be read a second time. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
The Public Service Pension Fund Bill 2024, Bills Committee stage. Clause 1.
I put a question that clause 1 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
Clause 2 is interpretation. We stand over it, then we come back.
Clause 3.
Clause 3. I put a question that clause 3 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
4 amendment.
Right Honorable Speaker, Clause 4, application of the Act. Clause 4 is amended A, by substituting for subclause 1 the following. This Act applies to employees in the public service. B, in subclause 2, A, by deleting subclause D, and 2, in paragraph E, by deleting the words N, who has not elected to join the scheme. C, by deleting subclause 3, justification, to remove the employees of the other public service and employees who elect to join the scheme from the application of the bill.
Honorable Minister.
Yeah, Right Honorable Chair, first of all, I would like to thank the committee for the report. It was quite extensive and has made our work much easier. But we would propose that we leave this clause as it is because it allows, it doesn't restrict. And it is also in consonance with the definition of public servant in Article 250 of the Constitution. This other public service is a creature of the standing orders. But all of these people in all these MDAs are public servants. So if you allow them the choice to come, for example, if someone were in Makere and wanted to move to this scheme, it is not contrary to what so this clause is permissive. It allows them because it is them to elect. But the principle here is that all the public servants must subscribe to a scheme. Whether it is a scheme at your other workplace or in this public scheme, you must subscribe to a scheme. But if you elect to join this scheme, I don't see why we would just keep them out. So I pray that members, we allow them to. It's an election by the members.
And 3, are you okay with 3?
Your right Honorable Chair, this clause here, where they say the minister may by certain instrument prescribe employees to whom the act may or may not apply, is actually an important clause because there could be categories of persons in the future who are not provided for, whom may wish to join the scheme. And when they wish to join the scheme, because the scheme has been provided for public servants, you will need an instrument which brings them into this. For example, currently, the Makerere University retirement scheme is a mandatory scheme by creature of a statutory instrument by the minister. So without it, you cannot allow people to just set up schemes and just participate. So this clause is actually important, and I beg to submit that you allow it.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to agree with the Attorney General. Actually, I'm wondering why the committee is trying to close it and leave it to a certain category of public servants. When we were processing the NSSF bill, we actually opened it up. You may not belong to any government agency or to any private sector. You may be a market vendor or doing your own business, and you elect to start contributing, which should encourage the culture of saving. So, Right Honourable Speaker, rather than restrict it and then tomorrow, no, Chair, and then tomorrow come back here to make amendments, I want to agree with the Attorney General that let that particular clause remain the way it is. Thank you very much.
Yes.
May I seek clarification, Chair?
Right, Honourable Speaker. When you look at the definition of other public service,
Maybe you could first hear from Aisha. Then
Chair, I am actually in support of Chairman, as I seek clarification from the Attorney General. If every public service is taken care of, okay? Now, this other addition you are adding, are we putting a provision where someone will opt, I may opt not to belong to Makerere and come to this public service? Is that what we are providing for? And that's what the chairman's report was saying. It causes confusion because as of now, already every public servant is somewhere. So when you say, and those that may opt, are we putting a provision for people to choose not to belong to their mother organizations and subscribe to the mainstream public service scheme?
Additional clarification. Additional, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I want to see, you see, Mr. Attorney General.
First look at the definition of other public service.
Attorney General. You see, Mr. Attorney General, when you look at the NSSF Act, the kind of clients of that bill are not like what is in public service, civil servants. When you look at the Makerere Act, a primary teacher cannot subscribe, and is a civil servant in the government, cannot subscribe to the bill which gives pension scheme to Makerere University. So what is restricting? Do you want to suggest that somebody can be saving money in different schemes at the same time and is a civil servant? It is not possible. Because what you are going to earn as a civil servant from your salary is what they are going to save on part of your saving as a civil servant. So what I want to know from you, if the Makerere Bill Act has restrictions on categories of people, including primary teachers like me, teaching at Shimoda Demotion School, they cannot save from Makerere University. So how do you bring them to the new scheme that we are trying to work on as a bill? Could you guide us on that?
First of all, for information, even as we speak now, there are some, Makerere University is a supranational scheme. There are actually some members of Makerere University who are serving in NSSF. So the one of Makerere University is you elect. This public service one is this is a mandatory scheme for civil servants. So the moment you're a civil servant, that's what we are saying, the moment you're a public servant, you have the right to participate in this scheme. What this scheme is saying is that, for example, when you look at other public service, and Right Honourable Chair, we need to start from the definition of public servant
from the Constitution. The Constitution defines public servant to include all these people who have been defined as other public servants. Now, if these other public servants in this agency, say NFA, decide that they wanted to join the public service scheme, mandatory scheme, by removing that allowance for them to join, then that means you have kept them out. But you can actually have, when you have mandatory schemes, yes, it's selective. Yes.
Look at D, part D. Look at part D.
He want him to guide us clearly to avoid the further challenges on this act or bill once it is assented to. Mr. Attorney General, when you go to Chambogo University, they have their scheme. When you talk to the UNEB, they have their scheme. But there are people we are looking at in the public service who have been having their scheme. I think that's what I see myself, but you can correct me. I'm looking at a teacher now, primary and secondary, and that category of people. So are you stating that once you open this, then it is mandatory that Chambogo University will close the other schemes to be filtered into this one?
Musomesa, this act does not apply to, one, a person in elective position, two, a member of armed forces, three, an employee of a security organization, four, an employee in other public service subscribing to an existing retirement benefit scheme. That is what answers you. Oh, thank you.
So, Right Honorable, what we are saying here is that the ones who are in schemes are taken care of.
Yes.
But everyone else who is not in a scheme has two choices: either to set up a scheme or join this one. The idea of this principle is that there should not be a public servant who does not have a saving for pension.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Chair, would you love to consider?
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm not conceding. And let me explain that. Right Honorable Speaker, when you look at the definition of other public service, it's very clear. It says means public service in government agencies, departments, authorities, boards, or commissions subscribing to a retirement benefit scheme other than the pension scheme. So it's saying, it's actually referring to people who already belong to existing pension scheme. And in this case, Makerere University is one of them. So the question we are putting is, why would we want to disorganize an existing scheme that is doing well instead of concentrating on correcting, not necessarily failing, but creating this? And Right Honorable Speaker, we think that this should be restricted to the people who are under the current scheme that will move into the new scheme. But those who are in the other schemes like Makerere and the rest should be maintained. Otherwise, the moment we create room for people to begin to run.
Honorable, does that negate the others? I want you to read this one. 1. This act applies to employees in public service. Public service, first stop there. And employees of other public service who elect, meaning voluntary, to join the scheme. It is just...
Right Honorable Speaker.
You get it, eh?
Right Honorable
There's
Chair.
no contradiction.
Right Honorable Chairperson. That's what he seeks. That's what he seeks to amend. What it is right now is that, as you read it, he seeks to amend it to say this act applies to employees in public service. That's what he seeks to amend.
Which is the first part.
Which is the first part. And
Yes.
what he is saying, and I agree with him, because the object of the bill is to do away with direct benefits schemes, okay? We want to do away with the DB. Now you want to bring people who are already in contributory schemes and bring
We
them
are
in
saying
here.
it is voluntary.
Yes.
So it
Even
is
when-
elective.
Chair.
Madam Chair,
Chair, my understanding.
the word
first-
is voluntary. Elect. And it is voluntary. That's number one. Number two, and what I've heard the Attorney General say, there could be an organization that will create here an agency which falls under other public service. And before they start
That
their
is
own
for
contributory,
three.
and before
That
they
is
start
for
their own
three.
scheme, they can elect that for us as a
Yes.
new authority, all of us shall go to
Yes.
the one existing.
Yes.
So it should be really flexible.
Yes.
Yeah, Chair, I would like to start with that particular argument. Is that I want to give a practical example. Supposing we create Lango University. So, you start Lango University, they have a choice of either establishing a Lango scheme or they can say they are joining this. So that's why this provision is important to remain, to give options. Let's not look at the existing schemes, but other schemes that may come. We might even create another organization here. That's the first understanding. But the second one on E is that because there are people who are going to retire at the age of 60, my understanding, the proposal was to give them that an option to join on because they are this close now to the retirement age. That's why E is there. It's giving flexibility for those who are already 55, and at 60 they are going to retire. That's why this provision of E is there and should actually remain. So that they have a choice of saying, yes, I'm 55, I'm going to join. Or, I'm now close to, I'm not going to join. So I want to agree with the Attorney General and the position of the bill that it seems to be. Right, thank you.
Chair, can you concede?
Right Honorable Speaker, if you will permit,
Let's move forward. Chair, we all use the same English.
Right Honorable
Unless-
Speaker, I concede.
Clause 4 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 5.
I put a question that clause 5 stands part of the bill.
Under clause 5, clause 5 talks about establishment of the public service pension fund. And when you read through from 1, 2, 3 up to 4, nothing talks about the objective of the objective of the fund. I was thinking it is at this point when we would have
6 is functions of the fund.
Yes, later on when read through functions of the fund, actually I will suggest that these are looked at as functions of the board. When you look at them, you look at them, sir, ma'am. When you look at 6, they are actually functions of the board, but objectives of the fund. They can be merged.
9.
6 and 9 can be merged. But when you look at 6, it doesn't look to be functions of the board. When you look through of the fund, to establish and operate the scheme, to do what, it's not function of the fund, it's actually functions of the board.
The functions of the fund, that's the 6. The fund shall exercise the following functions: to establish and operate a scheme for persons employed in public service and other public service who elect to join in the scheme, to specify the rules for contribution, record keeping, and payment out of the fund, to finance the payment of the benefits under the scheme. Yes.
Chair, I think the concern of Honorable
Honorable
Aisha,
Aisha,
from my understanding is that the fund is not just a fund, it's a person, a legal person. Yes,
It's a body corporate.
Yes, it's a legal person. Now we are giving this legal person the functions as a legal person. What do you do? This is what is here.
Yes.
The board does something else. So
when
this
you look at 5.2, the fund shall be a body corporate. Yes.
Say functions of parliament.
Yes.
Functions of parliament.
Yes.
Yes. As a legal entity, this is what you do. So the
Mm.
fund is not just the fund as money.
It's not. Yes,
but
not money.
Yeah.
Chair, the Attorney General can advise us if functions and objectives are one of the same and you don't need functions of the fund, then I'll give in. He's the legal mind of the institution.
Okay.
I think the functions and objects are different and all of them are being provided for. Because the objects of the Act is there, the functions of the fund are there, the functions of the board are there, all of them are there at separate times. And when you look at them, maybe when we get to the functions of the fund, I think that's where you may want to, if you think that there is something that we need to clarify, that's what we could clarify. But I think it's clear what clause 5. Clause 5 is about establishment of the body corporate.
AG, I agree, but do objectives of the Act serve to be the same as the objectives of the fund? I agree, objectives of the Act is there, but objectives of the fund, it is missing.
Right Honorable, this fund doesn't have any objectives. This particular fund does not have any objectives. It has function.
I put a question that clause 5 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 6.
6.
Right Honorable Speaker, clause 6 is amended by, A, by substituting for paragraph A the following. A, to administer the scheme. B, by substituting for paragraph B the following. B, to collect contributions from pensionable employees and their employers. Justification, a consequential amendment to the amendment of clause 4. 2, to provide for collection of contributions as a function of the board. And 3, to delete a function of the board that is administrative in nature.
Minister?
Agreed.
Chair.
Attorney General?
We have no objection. We thank the committee for their input.
Chair.
Yes.
I wanted to inquire from the Minister of Public Service if he's comfortable with that objective and whether it would be problematic to include the boards engaging in investment of such funds, because we know the resources may accumulate and they need to multiply and generate more revenue for the fund. So it will be important to appreciate what your comments on that would be.
Yes.
Chair, on that amendment, the chair seemed to base this justification on amendment of clause 4.
Consequential. Where he's talking about consequential.
Yes, and we did not. We rejected.
Yet we rejected.
Under clause 4.
Right Honorable Chair, even without this, without clause 4, the proposal that has been made by the committee allows for more flexibility for the fund, because it says the fund shall administer the scheme. So all the functions you have to do to administer the scheme are taken. So we think it's
I put a question that clause 6 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 6 as amended.
I put a question that clause 6 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 7.
I put a question that clause 7
Right Honorable Chair, I would like to seek guidance from colleagues and Chair and AG whether we don't need a restrictive section here that bars the fund from investing in speculative investments, lending. You know, there is a tendency of people having appetite to invest, but pensions are supposed to be so risk averse. So don't we need a restrictive clause here from speculative investments, lending, and also committing them to UBRA's guidance, because they are supposed to, from time to time, UBRA guides where pension schemes should invest.
I think later on when we get into the bill, we will see when we are talking about investment, but it's actually not a good idea for Parliament to prescribe the nature of investment, because we can't know what tomorrow is going to hold.
We are speculating because we shall have a farm manager.
We
shall
yes.
have, yes.
Thank you.
Clause 7.
I put a question that clause 7 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say under control nay. And the ayes have it.
Clause 8.
Clause 8, Chair.
Honorable Speaker, Clause 8 is amended in subclause 1A in paragraph E, Roman number 1, by substituting for the word center the word federations. 2, by inserting immediately after the word center the words one of whom shall be a pensioner. B, in paragraph F, Roman number 1, by substituting the word or appearing immediately after the word knowledgeable, the word N. 2, by substituting for the word or appearing immediately after the words retirement benefits, the word N. Justification, bullet 1, to synchronize with the Labor Unions Act, Cap 228. 2, to introduce the conjuncture N, to safeguard against the nomination of inexperienced persons from the board.
Yes, AG.
Right Honorable Chair, would propose that we, instead of using the word federation, we use council, because federation relates to federation of unions, different unions put together into a federation. They may not be a public service. It may not be a union of public servants. And then for the other part, the second F, where they've removed or and placed and, it can create a problem because it's now conjunctive, meaning that you have three persons not being public servant who are knowledgeable and experienced in matters relating to administration of return and actuarial valuation, banking, insurance. It's very difficult to find the person who has all these qualifications. That's why we are saying or. So you need to have someone who is knowledgeable, who has, it may be knowledgeable through experience, it could be knowledgeable through training, it could be knowledgeable through work experience. But when you say and, we may not be able to get this person. So I'm proposing that, while I agree that the center was the wrong word to use, I propose that in clause 8, 1E, be amended to read two representatives of the public service labor unions nominated by the council.
So we shall define what a council is.
Yes, we shall define what a council is. And then for F, I propose that we leave the or instead of the and, as it were in the bill. I beg to submit.
Chair.
Right Honorable Speaker, first on the federation and versus the council. When you look at the councils, these councils, the negotiating council is composed of members of the different federations. Now, our opinion is that we allow the federations to nominate these members, but we could restrict, because the public service labor unions are members of the federations, and there are two registered federations. So we could still use the federations, but restrict that the membership should be drawn from public service labor unions. who are members of the federations. Yeah. We could restrict it so that we allow the federations to, to be part of this.
AG?
I think that's fair enough if they restrict them to the representatives being members of the public service pension schemes, whichever we are. Then so I can propose a redraft to read, that is clause 8(1)(e), to read 2 representatives of the public service labor unions nominated by the federations, whom 2 representatives of public service labor union nominated by the federation, provided always that these shall be from participating members of those public service labor unions.
Right, Honorable Chair, that drops one important thing, which is said, one of whom shall be a pensioner. Because members, they are contributing members and they are pensioners. And so important that pensioners are represented as a category of people. So what the chairman had brought in, one of whom shall be a pensioner, is very important. Because a member can be an active member or can be a pensioner.
Right, Honorable Speaker, what she's raising is right, but from the federations, they are pensioners. If you were a member of the federation, when you were in active service, after retiring, it doesn't make you not a member. So the pensioners are also part of those federations.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, let us fully express that provision there for a pensioner. He might be there, but they will look at those who are in active service, who are saving. But this person is pulled out. Once you put it there, it expressly states that there must be a pensioner within the elective positions. And they are very useful in running these schemes.
AG?
I thank the member for that guidance. I think it would read that 2. Thank you. And first, Honorable Aisha, then Express. Yes, thank you. 2 representatives of the public service, 2 representatives from public service labor unions nominated by the council, by the federation, one of whom shall be a pensioner. And at least one of whom shall be a pensioner. You can choose to pick 2. Thank you.
I put a question that clause 8 be amended as proposed by the committee and further amended by Attorney General. Those in favor say bill. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 9.
Clause 9.
Right, Honorable Speaker, clause 9 is amended. A, in subclause 1, Roman number 1, in paragraph C, by substituting for the word collect, the words oversee the collection of. 2, by deleting paragraph Roman number 1. And 3, in paragraph J, by inserting immediately after the word manager, the word administrator.
It is I, not 1.
I, yes.
Is reading in his
I, sorry. And Roman number 4, by inserting immediately after paragraph 1 the following. M, advise the minister on matters relating to the administration of the fund. Justification, bullet 1, to limit the functions of the Board of Trustees to oversight and management, to provide for appointment of an administrator, to provide for an additional function of the board to advise the minister on matters relating to the administration of the fund.
AJ?
Right, Honorable Chair, we have no objection to the amendment to clause 9(1)(c). 9(1)(i) is a function that we think that the fund will have to undertake. Inspect financial records of an employer required to make contributions. Maybe the challenge would be to say in respect to the employment or to the payment of the employment. Right Honorable Chair, the challenge that these funds find is where a person is contributing a certain amount for the employee, but is reporting. So the ability to inspect these records is extremely important for fund managers to actually know, to avoid the employee I was expecting 2 million. Why are you giving me 1? So I think we need this clause, I. For 9(1)(j), 9(1)(j), we have no objection. 9(1)(m), we have no objection.
I concede.
Yes, Honorable Aisha.
First, I have a clarification I seek, then I'll pray for an insertion. M, exercise any functions necessary to achieve the objectives of the fund. The Attorney General already said that this fund has no objectives. That's what he said, that the fund has no objectives. Now M is saying, exercise any other function necessary to achieve the objectives of the fund.
Honorable Aisha, those are semantics, really. And like you have an objective for being here.
I know, Right Honorable Chair, but it's on
Okay,
record.
you can replace it with the functions.
Okay, we can replace it with function if he desires. And then I pray, maybe he speaks to that be first.
Right Honorable Chair, I concede to that, to changing that. To the functions, to achieve the functions of the fund.
I don't know whether we have to be express, but I think we have to be express and include N, hold an annual general meeting. It's a key function of the board, and we have to be express about it.
D. In D,
Madam Chair, it is
approve
already there.
annual work plans and budgets of the fund in
Madam Chair, it is already
consultation with the
in
Prime
L.
Minister.
Hold an
And
annual
then
general
L,
meeting of the members.
Then L, hold annual general meetings of the members. And
I concede. Thank you.
okay, yes.
Madam Chair, the committee and the Attorney General has agreed that the board should be restricted to do oversight. But in the same sentence of oversight, they have included administration, they have included management. Therefore, no amendment is necessary here. It means the board will do everything: oversight, administration, and management. I seek clarification. What do you really want the board to do?
Do you have the bill?
I think here what this clause 9 is doing, clause 9 is just providing the oversight. So, for example, when management makes its work plan, it takes them to the board for approval. When it does collections, these ones oversee. They don't do the work plan, but maintaining records and etc. Those are records of the company, but the person responsible for them is the board. If a company, for example, you do audited accounts of a company, they're done by management, but the holder of those accounts is the board. So the board will approve them and then keep them in their record.
Thank you. I put a question that clause 9 be amended as proposed and further amended by the Attorney General. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 9 as amended.
I put a question that clause 9 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 10.
10.
Right Honourable Speaker, clause 10 is amended in sub-clause 5 by inserting immediately after the word institution the words with approval of the minister. Justification to provide safeguards against unfair removal of a person representing an institution.
Yes. AJ?
We have no objection.
I put a question that clause 10 be.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Chair. This is when we lost opportunity to debate. I have a problem with the 3-year term. Pension boards, normally when they...
Let's first dispose of this one.
We're on 10.
That when you're supposed to be removed from office as an institution, the institution should consult the minister. That is what you're talking about. The institution must consult the minister. And if I remember where he said that you'll find out of grudges because somebody hates you, they will just decide to wake up from nowhere and say, Aisha, you have stopped being in the pension fund of Parliament. So here we are saying, before you're removed, you must come back to the Speaker and say, we are removing Aisha. That is the point where we are.
Chair, I have no problem with that, but you are going to put a question on the whole 10.
Okay,
and yet I was
now
proposing
that one
an
is
amendment
okay.
on the
Let's
first
go to
one.
another one.
Thank you so much.
What?
My request, my submission was on 10.1, the tenure of office, period of 3 years. Many of the people you see on this board that will assume office are there by virtue of their offices. And for someone to become a good pensioner, undergoes through rigorous training. Now when you say someone is a pensioner for 3 years and eligible renewal only once, you'll find that by the time the type of person has acquired competencies to serve well, this person is actually exiting. I want to persuade colleagues to accept tenure of office to be 5 years, so that when you lose 1 year for the person to learn what he's doing, he has other years for service. Otherwise, 3 years appears to be too short a time of service.
Honourable members, matters of pension, you need fresh ideas. Or else if you leave them there, they will finish pensioners' money. Yes. Yes, Faith.
Yes,
then,
Madam Chair.
Then it's Kumi.
3 years are adequate for a person to deliver. And if it is renewable, it will be another 6 years. For any knowledgeable person, that's adequate.
Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Chair. Previously, I was in the committee when the bill started. and we debated on the years, the 3, the 5. But explanation that we felt was right is that if you put 5 years, assuming that you have a member of the board who is incompetent, who does not know the work, who is a problem, are you going to continue enduring with that person? And that is why we feel the 3 years would be okay.
Honourable members, I put a question that clause 10 be amended as proposed. Those in favour say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 10 as amended.
I put a question that clause 10 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favour say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 11.
I put a question that clause 11 stands part of the bill. Those in favour say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 12.
Chair. So we are going to bring a discussion on term limits.
Honorable Speaker, clause 12 is substituted for the following. 1. Where a chairperson or member of the board dies, resigns or is removed from office under this act, the minister shall, within 3 months of the occurrence of the vacancy, appoint another person qualified to be appointed a chairperson or member of the board under this act to replace the member of the board. 2. The chairperson or member of the board referred to in subsection 1 shall hold office for a full term provided for under section 10. Justification for subclause 1 to also apply to chairpersons of the board. 2. To reduce on the time within which the vacancy should be filled. And 3. To provide for a full term of 3 years for new members of the board.
Right, Honorable Chair. In principle, we agree with the replacement of the chair and the member of the board in the period of 3 months. And to that extent, we agree with the committee. However, we don't agree with the committee where they propose that a person comes and serves another full term. Meaning, for example, if the board has been in office for, say, 2.5 years, and one board member dies, and you have to replace that board member, then that means this new board member will sit for 6 months, then serve another 1.5 months, 2.5 years, then come back. Where it has been used, Right Honorable Chair, it has caused confusion in the boards. It is important for the pensioners to know who are my board for what period. Yes. So that when they come to the AGM, they are dealing with the issue of that board. But it gets very, very complicated in these public bodies where you're relieving 2 people, then keeping 1, then keeping another. So you're constantly in the process of election of boards and filling boards and filling boards, and therefore there is never cohesion. So we pray and request colleagues that we do we do allow that where a chairperson or a member of the board is removed from office under this act, the minister shall within 3 months of the occurrence of the vacancy appoint another person qualified to be appointed a member of the board under this act to replace the chairperson or the member of the board and to hold office for the remainder of the term of that board that is removed. I beg to submit. Thank you.
The Chair.
I would like to support the chairman of the committee and the portion of the committee report. In good governance, they actually advising us to stagger the board so that the board does not exit at the same time. When they join same time and leave the same time, you lose institutional memory. So it's a good thing that some will exit and others have 6 months to leave or 1 year, so that people who come later, they have people to take them through issues in the board. Even UBRA advises existing board that they find a way to stagger. Let me remind colleagues before we get excited.
Thank you.
When we're discussing NSSF,
The minister even told us here that they conditioned one of the members to resign before time to create a situation when the board is staggered. And they paid money actually to those people who offered to exit before time. So it's a good thing that the board is staggered for purposes of institutional memory.
Thank you. Honorable members, much as we respect the institutional memory, we have a secretary who will be there, and a very good fund will always have minutes. We have a fund manager. And I don't see what's wrong with what AG is proposing. Yes.
Madam Chair, I don't see why members ask, or why Honorable Aisha is scared. Because once this bill is assented to, the board will be appointed. Once the board is appointed, in renewing after the 3 years, they drop some, so that new ones are brought on board. And that is how the staggering comes.
Staggering.
Yes. So there is no cause for alarm in this. That is actually what happens. So I wanted to state, Madam Chair, that I think this clause remains the way it is.
I put a question that clause 12 be amended as proposed by the committee and further amended by Attorney General. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 12 as amended.
I put a question that clause 12 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. I put a question. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 13.
I put a question that clause 13 stands part of the bill. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 14.
I put a question that clause 14 stands part of the bill. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 15.
I put a question that clause 15 stands part of the bill. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 16.
I put a question that clause 16 stands part of the bill. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 17.
I put a question that clause 17 stands part of the bill. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 18.
I put a question that clause 18 stands part of the bill. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 19.
I put a question that clause 19 stands part of the bill. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 20.
Chair.
Right Honourable Speaker, clause 20 is amended in subclause 3 by deleting in consultation with the minister. Justification to reduce bureaucracy in a day-to-day function of the board.
AG.
Right Honourable Chair, the guarantor of this money of the pensioners is government. And the boards left to their own devices can really it can be chaotic because they can decide to increase their salaries every week. So we are not saying, we have seen it in this experience of rationalization. We have seen what has been happening. So I think the oversight in consultation with the minister should not be a problem. Because all you're saying is this is what, in fact, for me, I was proposing members that this should be with the approval of the minister. 23, the terms and conditions of employment. Colleagues, we are struggling in government today with keeping these emoluments and having some degree of sanity in the space. So if we say every board will come in and just make its own decision.
So the terms and conditions of employment of other staff of the fund shall be determined by the board with approval of the minister.
Right Honourable Chair. Chair.
Yes.
I want to support the Attorney General because we as Parliament, we should have a particular person we face here in Parliament to condemn on the operation and the terms and benefits of that fund. And you know the challenge we have. You don't mind about there are cleaners who have been getting money above even a university lecturer because there is nobody restricting and monitoring and controlling. checks and balances.
Chair?
Chair. Thank you, Right Honorable Chair. I want to remind colleagues that actually the minister is already represented on the board. They are representatives of the minister on this board.
Approval.
2, I want to tell members that these boards are supposed to work independent of the sponsors. They are supposed to work independent of the sponsors. That's why you've put there your representative on the board to represent your interests. Otherwise, when you say that to recruit staff, they have to do it in consultation with the minister,
Honorable,
then the minister will be managing the pension scheme.
Honorable Aisha, the minister takes political responsibility. He's the only one who can come here and explain about that fund, not anybody else. So the approval of a minister is very crucial. Maybe we may need to check yours of the pension fund.
Chair.
Because if it is not like that, then we need to amend.
Right, Honorable Chair.
The approval of the speaker must be put there.
I am speaking from the knowledge of the pension funds, how they operate, and what I'm telling you is how funds operate. If you want to operate differently, we may.
Honorable Dur, I want you to study that pension fund act so that we understand who approves the operational expenses. Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, I concede.
I put a question that clause 20 be amended as proposed by the AG. Those in favor say under contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 20 as amended.
I put a question that clause 20 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say under contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 21.
21.
Clause 21 is amended A by inserting immediately after subclause 1 the following. The minister may appoint an administrator or any other service provider for the fund during the interim period provided under this section. B, in subclause 4 by substituting for the word 3 the word 2, justification, to provide for the appointment of service providers during the interim period 2, to reduce the interim period so as to expedite the transition process.
No objection, Right Honorable Chair.
Is the transition period should be shorter because that is. I put a question that clause 21 be amended as proposed. Those in favor send the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 21 as amended.
I put a question that clause 21 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor send the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 22.
I put a question that clause 22 stands part of the bill. Those in favor send the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 23.
Chair.
3 substituted for the following. There is established a scheme to be known as the Public Service Pension Scheme. Justification to harmonize the clause with the object of the bill.
AG.
No objection, Right Honorable Chair.
I put a question that clause 23 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 23 as amended.
I put a question that clause 23 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 24.
Chair.
Clause 24 is amended A in the head note by substituting the word scheme, the word fund. B in clause 1 by substituting the words member of the scheme, the words member of the fund, and wherever else they appear in the bill. C in subclause 2 Roman number 1 in paragraph B by inserting immediately after the word years the words or less, and Roman number 2 by deleting paragraph C. Justification to provide for membership of the fund. 2, a consequential amendment to clause 4.
Minister.
I think here, Right Honorable Chair, it should remain as a scheme, because you have the fund, which is the body corporate, which is the members do not become members of that fund. The fund is the body corporate, which has its entity. But when they contribute their money, they contribute to a scheme. So we need to be clear as to, I think what we are looking to achieve here is that I am participating in the scheme. Once I get out of the fund, once I get out of the scheme, the fund runs the scheme for me. So the members are members of the scheme. Yes. So I think I would propose that the bill be retained as it is in clause 24. Submit.
Maybe he would consider after that. Okay, my clarification is on 24(2)(b), and permit me, having lost the opportunity to debate, I just want to understand, because if members that are left with 5 years to retire are made subjected to a contributory fund.
Mandatory.
Yes, mandatory. Would the 5 years be enough for them to make substantial contribution for their retirement? I just want to understand this. For those who elect to join, that's okay. But who are conscripted to join by law, are 5 years sufficient? What other schemes have done, maybe it would run like 10 years to allow the existing members to go. The two schemes would run the same time for like 10 years so that people make substantial contribution. Otherwise, 5 years, the contribution would be too small to benefit someone in his retirement. I just seek clarification. I seek to understand. I hear a colleague saying it's better. Let me explain. In this contributory fund, you benefit out of the contributions that you've made and what your sponsor has made for you. Now, 5 years, if you're going to contribute for only 5 years, would it earn this person some money? Maybe you can explain to us the formula, if it guarantees them some money over and above to which they are contributing. I seek clarification.
Right, Honorable Chair, this is it's really not a legal matter, but what the advisors have given is that if a person contributes for 5 years, that's why you see clause 1, the ones who have more than 5 years, those ones are mandatory. The moment you have more than 5 years in the service, it is mandatory, and they have computed that that person will get reasonable return on his pension. Because remember, they already had an accumulated pension in government, which they are moving with to this contributory scheme. So those ones who had 5 years and more, it is clear. But then there are those who have 3 years left. Now that person, is up to them to make a decision. Do I get my money now and go away, or do I put it here and wait for the 3 years? But in both instances, there is money they are carrying from the government pension scheme now, which they've already earned, which is moving to this new contributory scheme. So there is benefit in that. But the second one is election, is voluntary.
Clarification.
Thank you, AG. Okay.
Mr.
Baka is back.
I concede.
Yes, Chair.
Right, Honourable Speaker.
Madam Chair, from the explanation of the Attorney General, I even feel we are doing a disservice to those who are left with just 3 years. Earnings of 3 years saved can help a pensioner. So 5 years is good, but even those ones of 3 years should have been brought under this bracket, such that we force them to save.
No, it is a mandatory. Mandatory.
Yeah, we should have put it at 3 years, those with 3 years and above, such that the bracket is bigger.
For now, let's
information that even this one, even the current one, pensioners like I have in my district, elders are dying every day. They are not getting any money at all. So even if somebody has 2 years, I would encourage they join this one. Because there's a little bit of assurance in this new one, some bit of assurance. That old one is very, very problematic. People are not getting any money at all. There's even no option. People members are dying. So even 2 years, I pray that they join this. Even 1 year. Yeah, so they transfer their money. Through this, they can be paid. That one is dangerous.
Are you close to 5 years or it is open?
I think, Right Honorable Chair, like I said, this was advised. It is not a legal issue. It is advised by professionals. But the person of 3 years is not stopped from joining.
So
what we have is that they are free to join, but those ones is not mandatory. But if he doesn't join, he still gets his pension that he had in government. Yes, the status quo remains. So that is why when you see the transition period, we shall be closing out this at some point.
So AG, do we maintain the clause as it was? Or
I propose we maintain the clause as it was because it was advised by the professionals as that.
I put a question that clause 24 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 25.
Chair.
Honorable Speaker, when you look at 25, the earlier decision affects this 25.
Chair, registration of members.
Because when you look at 25 is registration of members, the 25(1)A that we had suggested to have it deleted says transfer to the fund the pension files and other relevant information for employees under Section 24(2)A and C. And when you look at Section 24(2)A and C, talks about
amended.
Yeah, it's not amended.
Okay. AG.
That's the position, Right Honorable Chair. We maintain clause 25 as it is in the bill.
I put a question that clause 25 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 26.
26.
26, Right Honorable Speaker, clause 26 is amended in subclause 1 by deleting the words and that employee is not elected to continue contributing to the fund. Justification, a consequential amendment to the amendment of clause 4. I think that's the same decision here.
Yes.
Yeah, this one doesn't change as well because
Okay.
of
So we
earlier
leave
decision.
it as it
Yes.
is in
Yes.
the AG.
Yes, as a result of our discussion on clause 4, clause 26 remain as it is in the bill.
I put a question that clause 26
Chair,
stands part of the bill. Those in
Chair.
favor say on the contrary, nay. Yes. I've not put a question.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to recast the reading. Instead of saying cancellation of registration, should be exit of members. Members join and they exit. So it would be exit of members, and down there, a fund may exit an employee, just to recast how it should read in the pension fund language.
AG?
This is an action of the fund. The employee exits, the fund cancels registration. So the person who is exiting, so you can't say the fund can exit a person. So when you say the fund may exit an employee, that means the action of the fund. But if the employee exits that employment, whatever, the action of the fund is to cancel. So I think this may read better because what you're expecting the fund to do is what we are providing for here. So it's to cancel their registration.
I put a question that clause 26 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 27.
27.
Honorable Speaker, clause 27 is amended by deleting subclause 6 and 7. Justification, these are substantive clauses of the law that should not be varied by a statutory instrument.
AG?
I do appreciate the proposal by the committee, and I think I'll concede it. I think the purpose here is that we are saying there will be a 10% contribution and a 5% contribution by the employee, and that if it has to be changed, it has to come back to the House.
Yes.
We concede that.
I put a question at clause 27B amended as proposed. Those in favor say the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 27 as amended.
I put a question at clause 27 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 28.
I put a question that clause 28 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 29.
Chair.
Clause 29 is amended A in subclause 2D by substituting the word withdrawal, the word exit. B in subclause 3 by deleting paragraph B. Justification for clarity and as a consequential amendment to the amendment in clause 4.
I concede to the exit by the employee if the employee exits the public service. But 3B, all right? 3B is saying that a responsible officer may suspend payment of the contribution for the period where an employee who has not retired in accordance with the Act ceases to receive monthly payment in respect to his or her pensionable service, or in the case of employees in other public ceases to be employed. But if you're deleting this, that is 29(3)B. There's a proposal by the committee to delete that. We think it should be maintained. So we concede to the amendment of 29(2)D to read exit from the public service in accordance with this act, and then 3B be maintained as it is in the bill.
Chair.
Right Honourable Speaker, because we did not amend clause 4, we agree to that, maintain.
Thank you. I put a question that clause 9 be amended as proposed and further amended by AG. Those in favor said aye, to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 29 as amended.
I put a question that clause 29 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 30.
I put a question that clause 30 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 31.
Chair.
Clause 31 is amended in subclause 1B by inserting immediately before the word penalty the word monthly. And the justification is for clarity.
AG.
No objection, but this means that if government fails to pay, we pay monthly penalty. So we may have to come back for appropriation.
Yes. I put a question that clause 31 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 31 as amended.
I put a question clause 31 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 32.
I put a question that clause 32 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 33.
33.
Clause 33 is amended by substituting for subclause 1 the following. 1. Qualifying service is the period between the date on which an employee begins to draw salary until the date the employee leaves the public service. And justification, consequential amendment to the amendment in clause 4.
AG.
Right Honourable Chair, having not amended clause 4, I pray that clause 33 remains as part of the bill as it appears in the proposal.
Chair. Chair.
Right Honorable Speaker, some people are trying to harass me. I just want to make sure I take correct decision because I'm doing this on behalf of my members.
There's nothing consequential because there was no amendment.
I concede, Right Honorable Speaker.
I put a question that clause 33 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 34.
34, Chair.
Right Honorable Speaker, that is clause 34 is amended by deleting subclause 2. B in subclause 3 by substituting for paragraph C the following. C, retirement on medical grounds as shall be granted by the employer on the recommendation of the medical board. Justification, for clarity and as, again, there was no amendment on clause 4.
AG?
But for purposes of clarity, the clarity aspect has to be maintained, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Right Honorable Chair, we need to be careful here because there is retiring as a result of a medical ground which you have sustained at work. And then there is retiring because of medical grounds, but you have not sustained them at work. Now, those who have sustained that at work are entitled to their pension. But those who sustain whatever medical reasons outside the workplace cannot now make it the problem of the employer that I sustain and therefore I must retire. For example, I am supposed to be receiving pension having worked for 10 years. I work for 5 years and I get an injury at my workplace. And because of the injury at the workplace, I must retire. That person should be entitled to their pension. But a person who has worked for 5 years gets an injury maybe while playing football or something in their leisure time and has to retire from employment. That person needs to be refunded their contribution but not get a pension. So I propose that we maintain the wording as it is in the bill because that is what it is trying to achieve. Thank you.
Madam Chair. Yes, Madam Chair, I want to disagree somehow, or not disagree, but give my view in this particular situation. Somebody sustains injury from workplace, this one should be paid the pension. But according to him, somebody who sustains injury any other place should not. Say, for example, I'm a worker here in Parliament. I came to Parliament and on my way, possibly I got a problem on the way, not necessarily from Parliament. Do you mean to say I should not be paid my money?
More clarification, Madam Speaker.
Linda?
When
Yes,
we are defining
Madam
cost
Speaker,
of
more
employment,
clarification.
it includes going from work, home, and back. That's in the course of your employment. But let us say you are not in the course of your employment. Say you happen to be doing maybe other things.
But Madam Chair,
Speaker, further
Madam Chair, I want to.
clarification.
Linda.
Madam Chair, I want to probe that. Madam Chair, can I
Madam
probe
Speaker,
that
further
further?
clarification. I may get an injury, maybe doing my other things, and I'm forced to retire. But I've been saving my money. Should they refund that money without interest, or they are going to refund that money with interest? Because that money must be making some interest. So we want to know
But
if
that-
I'm not getting pension,
But
is
in
that
the
money
process,
being refunded
in the
with
process,
interest?
that money has been accruing interest.
Yes.
In the process.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the money should be refunded with interest.
Yes, Madam Chair, I wanted to probe the question I had raised to Attorney General. You see, the explanation Attorney General has given, still for me I'm not convinced because
Careful with dichotomizing injuries and where they occur. We should be extremely careful. Otherwise, this law is likely to even lose the human face. Take an example. You are on leave and you get an injury. Realistically speaking, that is not in the course of employment. You are on leave. How do you then say that does not concern the fund? You are in Bujiri. You are in Bujiri. You have gone to Bujiri. You have fallen in a bathroom, which is really an accident. In a bathroom. And then you come and argue that, you see, that does not concern us. What were you doing in a bathroom? This law is going to lose the human face. I want to ask Learned Attorney General that the idea of, if it is really injuries, is information from Hajati.